Good afternoon and welcome committee members, board members, staff, and in particularly our online attendees to our Toronto Seniors Housing Quality and Tenant Engagement meeting on Monday, February 23rd. Thank you for joining us. Just prior to this meeting, we had a quick meeting, a board meeting, a special meeting, and where the board approved the TSHC committee memberships and committee chairs. And I'm proud to be appointed the chair of this committee. Truly, this is quite a privilege and an honor. And I'm very pleased to actually confirm and welcome our new members. Councillor Cristanti is the vice chair. Thank you for taking this on, Councillor Cristanti. You've always actually attended our meetings, and I really value your input. Jessica Hoon is a newer tenant member, board member, and already making a great impact on the board. And it's really great to have you officially as a member of this committee, Jess. Thanks, and I know you'll bring lots of perspective. And I'm very happy to welcome back Jim, who also brings great perspective as a tenant member. And our tenant members are full board directors, and as such, actually bring that perspective. But thank you very much. Thank you for interest, and I look forward to working with all of you. And I welcome other board members. This is actually a committee where a lot of the heart around tenants and quality come here, and it's great that other people, when you can make it, we always welcome your attendance. February is a busy month. I'd like to acknowledge that February is Black History Month, which our CEO will give an update. Last week, we marked Maha Shivatri on February 15th and the beginning of the Lunar New Year, Ramadan, and Lent. This week is Pink Shirt Day on Wednesday, which aims to raise awareness about the prevalence and impact of bullying in schools, workplaces, homes, and online. We have a full agenda today with one deputation on item 13, Rapid Rehousing Annual Report. Also, we have a consent agenda item, the Strategy Directions Q4 Progress Report, which we will not address unless a board or committee member or a board committee member requests this. I will mention this again at the approval of that agenda. I will now proceed to the next agenda item, which is our land and ancestral acknowledgement. We'll start with the land acknowledgement. Toronto Seniors Housing Corporation recognizes that we live and work on the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat nations, and that this area is now home to a diverse population of First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people. We recognize that Toronto is situated within the traditional territories governed by the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Treaty between the Haudenosaunee and the Anishinaabe nations, the Two-Row Wampum Treaty between the Haudenosaunee of the Dutch, as well as Treaty 13 and the Williams Treaties involving the Anishinaabe and the Crown. These agreements remain in effect today, underscoring our shared responsibility as treaty people. Toronto Senior Housing has benefited from these treaties and the resources of this land by providing essential housing services to seniors in Toronto. We are dedicated to furthering reconciliation initiatives, which include facilitating staff education on the historical and ongoing impacts of policies affecting Indigenous people. This encompasses topics such as the Indian Residential Act, the residential schools, treaty violations, and the continued crisis surrounding missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls. I'd also like to acknowledge the African Ancestral Acknowledgement. Toronto Seniors Housing Corporation acknowledges that racism and injustices faced by individuals who are brought to this land involuntary, particularly those affected by the transatlantic slave trade. We acknowledge the experience of Black people who arrived in Canada seeking a better life following the abolition of slavery by the British in 1834. While also recognizing the structural, systemic, and individual racism that they encountered, which continues to persist today. This racism culminated in the tragic destruction of Africville, which was once the largest settlement of Black community in Canada. Toronto Seniors Housing is committed to recognizing all forms of racism, especially anti-Black racism, and is actively working to combat these injustices. We will now go to our next agenda item, and I know that Tom is going to actually give us an update on initiatives, particularly during Black History Month. Okay. Our next item is new business and approval of the public meeting agenda. Does any board member, committee member, so that's Jess, Jim, and Councillor Crisanti, have any new business or any amendments to address the consent agenda item, which is strategic directions Q4? Okay, hearing none, may I have a QTech member move that the February 23rd agenda as presented be approved?
Sorry, Linda, just a question. Are you saying there'll be no discussion of that item?
That's consent agenda items. They're basically presented for information unless there's actually a question that comes about that. So if you would like to raise something during that agenda item, we can.
And the item is what the
It's the QTech strategic direction Q4 progress report.
Yes, I'd like to ask a couple of questions.
Okay, so we'll do that at that time.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
So with that adjustment to the agenda, could I have someone approve our agenda?
So moved.
Thanks, Jess. Seconded by Jim. All in favor? Terrific. We'll now move to item 4, which is conflict of interest. Can I see if there's any conflict of interest of anyone? Great. And I'd like to remind people that if a conflict arises that you weren't aware of, you can also let us know at that time if it comes to your attention. All right. We have our minutes from item 5. Does anyone have any comments or edits to the QTech minutes of November 18th, 2025? Hard to believe that we're in February. All right, hearing none, may I have, thank you, Jess, seconded by Jim. All in favor? Great, thank you.
That was a question.
Oh, I'm sorry, Jess. I got ahead. I was kind of thinking you might have a question,
Yeah,
so go
right.
ahead. I'll backtrack. Sorry about that.
I'm just trying to go back and forth from my notes to the agenda
No
item.
problem, no problem. You have a question with regards to the minutes of November.
I believe so. There's an action item about bringing to the board committee Bill 10 and Bill 60 effects. And if that work has been done and if there's going to be a report on it.
Yeah, I think that it's not being reported at this one, but we have some intention to bring it forward. Is that correct?
Through the chair, Brent, I can address that through the chair and to the committee.
Yeah.
So yes, on the action list, there's a in progress item to bring an update on Bill 10 and Bill 60, and we are working on those materials right now to bring an update forward on those two items.
So probably be maybe at the next meeting, Grant, do you think?
Our intent through the chair and the committee, our intent is to bring an update hopefully in advance of the next committee so that the committee is aware of any implications associated with those two items. Great. And that is on the action list on item 8.
Yeah, so if you see
item 7,
item 7 is our action items review, which is the next item. And generally we're actually up to date on all of the action items, but there is actually a few two in progress there.
Just a quickie question. I saw that Bill 10 and Bill 60. Which were they?
So through the chair and to the committee, without getting into too much detail now. Yeah. Bill 10 is the Protect Ontario Through Safer Streets and Stronger Communities Act, and it has provisions to deal in particular with regards to illegal drug activity. With regards to the latest information, there are some exemptions of which it appears there's going to be an exemption for community housing. So but we'll put more, we have some briefing materials we have to put together for that. Bill 60 is called the Fighting Delays Building Faster Act of 2025. And it's more about streamlining processes with regards to getting housing going, but there are some LTV related considerations. So we'll bring forward some details on that as well.
And that's streamlining actions in terms of new construction or?
Yeah, accelerating housing is the kind of context for it.
Okay, all right.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, so going back to the minutes, so we actually generally break up the action items because they actually are an addendum to the minutes, and the minutes. Is there any questions about the minutes? This is the public minutes as that we need approval of? All right, can I have an approval for Jess, are you still okay to approve the minutes?
Yeah.
And seconded by Jim? Great, all in favor? Great. And we also then have a separate item generally for the closed session minutes. Does anyone have any edits for the closed session meeting minutes? All right, hearing none, I'm wondering if I can have an approval for the closed session minutes? Great. Jess and Jim, all in favor? Terrific. And then we'll go to the action item. So item 7 is the action items. And we did actually have Grant to speak to those because generally when there's something that is in progress, we like to actually give a little bit more detail. So I think Grant, you started that, but let's cover it.
So through the chair and to the committee, I wasn't actually going to provide any really more specifics on those two.
Yep.
And I think we've given a general kind of context setting for here. We are getting some information from the city, some information we've gathered, and some information from a legal front to inform what we would bring back for that update. And we'll prepare 2 separate briefing notes, one for each of those bills, and share them back with probably the entire board for awareness.
That makes sense. All right, is that okay with everybody? Thanks for keeping us on track with that, Jess.
Just a quickie. The other completed action items, some of them are recurring items. So you have them as status completed, but some of them would be recurring or reported quarterly or semi-annually, etc. So it appears as if it ends here, but it looks like it's not going to end. It's going to be continually reporting back. So is there a way to capture that, or is it you just lodge it as having completed that first step?
It's generally related to the meeting and items that come up with it in that meeting. So those are the action items that we've committed to. So there sometimes are actually items that would repeat.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's important that we actually particularly identify items that are still in progress.
Okay. Because they're all down as completed.
Yes.
Yeah.
For this meeting, we're not.
For that meeting.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So thank you, Grant. Yeah, go ahead, Jess.
I have a question about the rapid rehousing integration
Mm-hmm.
and how those folks are being supported. It appears that there's a fair high volume of people coming into the system, and I noted somewhere else that there is also a fair number of people leaving the system. Almost 10% of all the units have been vacated, one reason or another.
Can we bring that to item 13, which is actually the rapid rehousing? We actually have an agenda item on rapid rehousing. Okay. Is it okay with you, Jess?
I just noted that as an action item.
Yeah. So
that was kind of my point too.
Yeah. I think sometimes it's what has been asked for, so that a report is actually being presented. So it's not like the rapid rehousing is not going to actually everything get to be solved, but the action item generally, and others can jump in, is related to the minutes and what we've actually committed to doing, and in progress is we actually are reporting on it at this meeting. So we'll bring that to the meeting. Is that fair to say, Grant?
Through the chair and to the committee, yes. So the action list is intended to capture items to follow up on out of individual quality and tenant engagement meetings. Sometimes there are recurring reports that will come out of those going forward, but it's not intended to be a list of things that are recurring per se. There are specific actions coming out of previous meetings.
And quite often the action is being presented at the meeting. So it's been asked for we've been asked for more details on something. Rapid rehousing is one of them. It's being presented at today's meeting. But it's good to have those questions and to clarify. So with that, I'm wondering if we can move ahead and approve the action item list and move ahead to the other items, because I think that people do want to get into the meat of the meeting, which will include rapid rehousing. All right. Do we need an approval of the action items? I don't think so.
No. We do not.
Okay. Yeah. Well, let's go forward then to the work plan. And this one we will actually have a motion on for approval. So this is the 2026 tenant engagement proposed work plan, and I believe Grant is going to walk us through it. And it was forwarded for people for review ahead of time. Go ahead, Grant.
Thank you, and through the chair. So the work plan before the committee today is a reflection, and similar to how we brought forward work plans in previous years, and will for each of the 3 committees of the board, looking at the proposed topics for the meetings that are scheduled throughout the year. So there are 4 quality and tenant engagement meetings scheduled in 2026. And on the screen, you see the first 2 meetings. Then if Karen scrolled down, and in your package, you would see the other 2 meetings. The topics that are include some recurring topics, and then some topics or items that are specific to the time period. So for example, you'll notice that the operational dashboard will show up on every meeting as it has traditionally, but there will be specific topics such as today we have updates from the OACH. At the next meeting in May, we'll have an update on the tenant experience survey and pest management. Later on in the year, we'll also have updates on the future strategic directions and other reports we've had in the past, like the move out report. And you'll see that the intent at this point is for the committee to review this and approve it. However, it will be subject to review as we proceed through the year and bring items forward. Where there's an asterisk on this, that indicates there's an intent for that item to move further forward to the board. And I'll take any questions.
Go ahead, Brenda.
Sorry, just the comment about the asterisk. These are the items that will go back to the board for approval?
So through the chair and to the committee, they're items that would move forward to the board. So for example, from today's agenda, you'll see the OACH biannual report and the 2026 work plan. They'll move forward to the next board meeting. The 2026 TSHC annual plan will move forward, but the ones that don't have an asterisk next to them, they will be just at the committee level.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay. So the community, I noticed the community safety unit is reporting each quarter.
That's correct.
Are those the folks from Toronto Community Housing who come in to do that report, or is it something we present on our internal numbers?
So through the chair,
yeah,
it is a report that comes from Toronto Community Housing, and it is on today's agenda as an example. We will be bringing forward a summary of that in today's meeting. So they don't attend and present to that.
Oh, okay.
They do provide the information that we bring forward.
Okay, and there was one other one. That's fine. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, and it's good to note that this is our game plan. I think it's fair to say that if there's issues that come up that are particular to our to quality or to tenant engagement, we would actually add that. And if there was a need for a special meeting, we'd do that. Fareed?
Yeah, through you, Madam Chair. I mean, I'm pleased to see the innovation update and research update in the agenda. Because other than that, most of the other items are fairly operational, and I'm hoping that we can periodically kind of talk a bit about best practices across the housing community, so to speak, as we discussed at our last meeting, to try and get a better sense of where we sit vis-a-vis other jurisdictions. So I'm glad that staff has inserted that innovation and research piece as part of the agenda on a going forward basis. So thank you.
Yeah, I agree with that, and we'll give that attention. And there may be some other things that come up. So with that, again, this is our game plan. As you can see, the work plan is pretty. Even though there's recurring items within those items, there's a lot of meat. So we're paying attention to the trends on different items that are important to our tenants and to quality. So could I have an approval of the work plan for 2026? Jess, and seconded by Jim. All in favor? Terrific. So that is approved, and thank you for the work and putting that together and keeping us on track. At this point, we're going to go to. Oh, go ahead, Jim.
I'm a little confused over the rapid rehousing. Is the central wait list a part of that rapid rehousing?
We're gonna get, rapid rehousing is gonna get 15, a few minutes. In a few minutes, we're gonna actually do a report out on rapid rehousing. Is that okay, Jim?
Yeah,
If you can just hold on for, it's just after, it's item 13, and we're going to actually look at the, because that's an important item.
okay, thanks.
Okay, thank you. And maybe something, I think we'll discuss actually after the presentation, how we can actually continue to make sure that this is part of the work plan, because I think people are, this has been an area that has been of interest and maybe concern in terms of that area. So I'm going to move it over to Tom for his CEO report, and then we're going to go into the OACH report and then operational dashboard. So over to Tom.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone, and through the chair to the committee. I'm going to start my update with the 2026 budget, and I know that that's not typical for quality and tenant engagement. However, there was some action out of the 2026 budget at council that I think would be and that I think would be very helpful for the this committee to know, and then subsequently the board. But just high level, the budget was approved, and we did have 4 of our deferred corporate positions within that budget, and they remained in place. So that is good news. The other part to bring really specifically to this committee was around the mayor's budget, the city's budget. It included several measures relevant to Toronto seniors housing tenants. And one is the expanding of the air conditioner program. So we will be working with our staff to advocate for that and to support our staff, our low income seniors. Additional resources for homemakers and nursing services. Once again, we can work with our tenants to apply for those. Financial management programs and expanded funding for the rent bank, so which we know our tenants also, and OACH has been working with us to access the rent banks. So that was from the mayor's budget. And then also as part of a larger kind of omnibus motion, I will call it, from Councillor Carroll at the budget meeting, there was an allocation of $90,000 to support Toronto seniors housing ongoing pest management activities, kind of consistent with our plan, but also to provide for the ability to kind of focus on a pilot project around improving pest management, and so that we will be working with the city to get kind of more details on that funding, and then certainly how to work it in with our pest management plan. So just wanted to provide some of those high level areas from the budget. And then moving into the on the CSU, I also know that it's later in the report, and Grant will be providing that, and I will have further detail on our work with the CSU. But just from a follow-up from a previous board committee, letting you know that the CSU operation review has started, and that when I asked the new director, Toronto Seniors Housing will be asked for kind of their participation information to that review in about a month's time. So just wanted to bring the committee up to date on that. Another item is the food for now. And as many of you, as we sent you the information on food for now, this is the food security program that is being delivered outside our Woods Manor, 2850 Lakeshore Street West. And so we met with the organization last week, and at this point in time, the delivery of the food service will continue. And Deanna was working around the security to be present while that was happening, to minimize any kind of intrusion into the buildings, and a comfort for the tenants. And so that is kind of interim, but we do need to look at kind of a longer term strategy for that program, and we are seeking legal advice on risk around this, and the responsibility with the program there. And so there's still work to do, but as we've said in our correspondence, they're keenly aware of the food security issues, and want to do the best that we can for our tenants and for the community. I know also OACH is on the agenda, but just bringing the committee up to date on the that there's a new recruitment process for the permanent OACH commissioner. And to this committee, Linda is representing Toronto Seniors Housing on the recruitment panel. So we are very glad she is there, but just wanting to keep OACH, keeping the committee up to date. And today is the first time that you will that Melanie will be presenting OACH's work plan for 2026. And so you'll hear very specifically about the work that OACH will be doing with Toronto Seniors Housing. And just wanting to let the committee know about the Lunar New Year mayor's visits. So like last year and the year previously, the mayor this week and next will be going to numerous buildings to celebrate with the tenants, and we always come to look forward to that celebration. But it really is very positive for our tenants and for us. And then just the last item is around the Black History Month, and briefly highlight the activities that have been taking place at Toronto Seniors Housing in recognition for Black History Month. We hosted a lunch and learn on defining Black thriving at Toronto Seniors Housing Corporation, and it was led by the Centre for Advancing the Interests of Black People with CABR. And then also throughout the month, the IDEA Committee has been sharing weekly educational communications through our staff intranet. One focused on Honourable Jane Augustine and her role in establishing Black History Month in Canada. Another week highlighted the Black storytelling in Canada with music, literature, film. And this week, the focus is on Black innovation, recognizing contributions that have shaped Canada today. And so just wanting to bring the committee up to date on those various items. So thank you.
Great. Thank you, Tom. Any questions for Reid?
Yeah, thanks, Madam Chair. And Tom, perhaps you can speak a bit more about that CSU review and the format and who is leading it and what's the structure like? Because I mean, I think I heard you right in saying that TSHC will be asked for comment within a month. I'm just interested, is there a steering committee? I mean, what's the terms of reference and how do we expect that review to be conducted over the next little while?
Yeah. Yes. So through the chair to the committee and the response. So the review is being led by TCHC. And to your specific question about the steering committee, I don't know that at this point in time, but I can certainly kind of get that information for you. The one item that I did forget to mention and I think we mentioned at the last meeting that Nadia Gouvet would be coming to QTech in May to provide further information on that. But I could specifically get that information and provide it beforehand around the governance of that. I just don't have the specifics. Sorry, Fareed.
Yeah, thanks. Madam Chair, I'd like to sort of, see ourselves as kind of being early participant in that process to try and ensure that some of the considerations raised by the board at our last meeting gets addressed fairly early, because I think it will be beneficial for both organizations for us to kind of co-create whatever the new model or outcome is.
Thank you.
Yeah, I agree totally. So maybe, Tom, that would be something, even if you get the information on what the structure is for the review, yes, you could feel free to send it out well ahead of May.
Yes, that's right. I can do that. I will. Yeah, I'll ask that focus question. Thank you.
Thanks, Tom. And this will be a big part of our review of this review. Brenda?
Quick one, and the second one. Tom, did you say it was May that the person will be meeting with us?
Yes. Yeah. Okay, through the chair. Yes. We had tried to get this month. It just didn't work from a scheduling perspective.
Sure.
For this meeting.
So will they be in touch with us prior to then, or is it just?
Yes,
then?
I can reach out. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Because it's a little late in the process to involve us. Okay. My comments are about the food. Was it Food for Now? Is that what they call themselves? Food for Now?
Yes.
One's a suggestion, one's a comment. In my reading and in the materials you sent and stuff that I read in the press, I found our tone a little defensive, and in terms of public, facing, and it almost put us on the back foot instead of us. It just sounded the tone was a little off for me. That's just my thoughts and suggestion there. And when you're engaging with what these are seemingly fairly sensitive things, you want to at least try not to present yourself as the defensive institution that's not responding in a proactive way. Okay. The second question on the food for now I had is the delay in response. Apparently, we sent out a letter last summer regarding the trespassing concerns. And it seems like a long period of time between now and January before anything happened. And I wondered if some of this could have been avoided by engaging with them earlier and more rapidly. I don't know how long they've been in front of our building doing this, but I have concerns about risk issues. Some of the stuff is prepared food, which has a higher risk if they don't have food handling experience. And there was some mention in our notes or comments about tenants in our buildings being a little concerned about, I don't know how to put it, whether it was the way the food is being delivered or whether the impression it was creating. I have a lot of concerns about it. So I'm not saying that we should bend over backwards and just agree to their, introducing of their activities without permission on our property. But it seems to me this is an example of partnership gone wrong. It was not a partnership. It was an imposed situation. And I just wondered, was there a reason for the delay before we actually took some steps, or was there stuff going on behind the scenes that haven't been reported in your reports to us? If you could just give me a little background on that.
Yes, so through the chair, I'll ask Deanna. She has been our point person on this. Deanna?
Thanks, Deanna.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Tom. You guys can hear me, right? I'm just on headphones.
Yes.
Okay. So through the chair, Brenda, thanks for your questions and can provide more information and details offline if it's helpful. But what's been happening since that first issue of that trespassing notice and whatever letter was sent in January, we have been making efforts to try and work with Food for Now and some of our local partners, the political offices in the area as well, to help us try and find the best location for Food for Now because of the challenges it poses for our tenants and their feelings of safety. So what's been happening over the last few months is trying to find somewhere feasible for this program to continue. And in the meantime, as an organization wanting to enable a program that we do hear from many is very valuable to the community, and trying to manage the risks that we face when it happens in the meantime. So there has been work to try and find where can Food for Now land so they're able to succeed.
Since July, apparently it was July that the original notice went out to them. So we've been engaging with them since July?
Yes, in different ways and with the help of other partners like the counselor's office. Yes, we have been. In the spirit of trying to find them a suitable location, we talked about the feasibility of them coming into our buildings as well in our common space, and if that was feasible. But that, there's been conversations, yes, Brenda, for sure.
So why did they not come into the building to deliver this?
In order to come into our spaces, our use of space policy requires services to our tenants. So the primary client would have to be our tenants, and Food for Now loves to serve the community. They do a great job of serving the wider community in the area.
Yes, I understand. Okay, so this was not a service targeted to our
Nope.
tenants.
Some of our tenants use it for sure. I can't say how many because it's not one of our programs, but it is a community program.
Okay, I understand. And the tenants' concerns with it are what? You said security, meaning what? They're feeling that strange people are coming into their building? Or like, what's the
primarily concerns around, and if Brad, if I'm missing anything, or Tom, please speak to this, but primarily through the chair, access concerns. Yeah, people potentially tailgating into the building, because of the location of the program, and then potentially loitering in the building when those folks get in.
Has that been happening?
We've heard complaints of that. Yes, we've received those complaints from tenants. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Brenda, and thank you, Deanna. I see Jess's hand up.
Yeah, two other items regarding this issue. One is the garbage that's left.
Yeah.
That nobody was cleaning up, and so that was an issue. And it's also, I don't know if this is the same location, but in an earlier meeting today, one of our staff members mentioned that it was impacting the local community grocery store, which was not community oriented in terms of how we deal with the community around us.
Yeah.
So if we want the community around us to accept our presence, then we also have to be supporting of the businesses that are already in existence, and being supportive of them as well.
Thanks, Jess. I think that what's been important is that I think our team has been trying to actually really represent the tenants of the building, while not actually trying to alienate the community and an organization that's trying to do something good. So there's probably some reasons why it's tricky to actually meet all of the stakeholders here. But I am pleased that we're putting a big focus on the tenants in that building and trying to actually resolve this, while also, of course, giving people access to services that they may want to avail themselves in the community. So
Well, and Linda, there's also the dignity issue here. This is
absolutely, absolutely.
that I found that things splayed out on the street, and
absolutely,
and
absolutely.
we worked so hard in the food bank movement to have a dignified delivery, you know.
So with your okay, Brenda, we'll move on and ask for regular updates and your comments in terms of the media. It's always challenging to actually this got a lot of coverage. So
yes, I know.
Thank you for the team for trying to actually represent us, and so we'll move on to the next item if that's okay.
Yes, go ahead. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Just because we have a fairly heavy agenda, and I know that there's some items that people want to actually have good discussion on.
Yeah.
We have two items moving on. One is the OACH report, and then the OACH work plan, which actually is, as Tom mentioned, this is the first one that is specific to seniors community housing as opposed to actually integrated with Toronto Seniors Housing. And I'll pass over to Melanie for the first report.
Okay, thanks. So it's nice to see everyone today. So I'll go through the biannual report first. So through the chair, during this period, the OACH received 147 referrals, consistent with prior periods. In addition, 80% of referrals involved arrears under $3,000, demonstrating that issues are being identified and in alignment, and identified early, and in alignment with the arrears collection process. In terms of outcomes, tenant engagement remains strong, with 91% of engaged tenants avoiding evictions. Our partnership with Wood Green Tax Link Service is also producing strong results. 49 households were referred in this period, with 100% avoiding eviction. Looking ahead, new initiatives such as our developing partnership with Service Canada will further streamline processes. Overall, the data reflects continued early intervention, strong compliance, and meaningful collaboration between the OACH and TSHC, and we remain well positioned in 2026 to continue reducing arrears and preserving tenancies. Oh, sorry. And I can take any questions. Sorry if I didn't say that.
That's okay. And people have had the report. Any questions for Melanie on the biannual? So for people that are new to the committee, OACH reports twice a year on the regular, and she's going to be providing the also the update for the work plan. Brenda?
Kudos, bravo to your partnerships
yes,
with Wood Green and Service Canada. I had some experience with this, and I know this would be very, very useful because so many of our benefits are tied into tax planning and tax filing. I had one question about the rent bank. Okay.
Go ahead.
The total arrears covered now by the rent bank, the Toronto Rent Bank. There seems to be quite a real increase in the use of the rent bank to help our tenants. Is there any concern? I don't know how much money the rent bank has. I understood that they were primarily initially directed towards people in the community, not people in existing subsidized housing. So this is a change from the past by directly. Is there any concern about the amount of money that's going towards people who are significantly subsidized to begin with, compared to money that possibly might be diverted from community members who now are not getting access to that? What, $250,000 is it? I can't remember how much.
So through the chair, so the rent bank, I think really what's happening is that they're gearing it now to RGI tenants. So, and they're also putting limiters. Yeah. So it used to always be for just market. So now other subsidies. So for OW, ODSP, they have access to benefits, whereas seniors never did. So this is a real benefit that seniors can benefit from through the city.
Okay. So OW and other people had access before to the rent bank.
No, they never did, but they have access to a social benefit. So they have housing stabilization fund, right? So this is the first time or the first grant that's really accessible to seniors and people in different income groups. Because typically, if you were an RGI, there would never have been a different way to access external funding to support with your arrears. But this is a new program geared to this group.
And the rent stabilization fund does not apply to our people?
Only if they're through the chair, only if they're receiving Ontario Works or ODSP. So if you were a senior on pensions, you would not be able to access that program.
I understand. Okay, thank you. Good to know.
Yeah, thanks, Melanie. And I too wanted to congratulate you for the expansion to the to Service Canada. That would be an amazing. It's just it's so complicated, and to actually have somebody in the building and not have to go through the phone. So let us know. I know that's actually in the work, so you'll let us know about that one.
Yeah, so I can actually give you a brief update if you want right now, because so through the chair, so we're already setting up dates. So we're looking to start a soft rollout in March. And then as of April, we're going to start piloting in a few areas in TSHC buildings. But the great news is we've already spoken to ODSP as well, and they're going to partner with us. So we're going to have ODSP, Service Canada, and we're going to be really targeting also seniors who are transitioning from ODSP to pensions. So they'll have the ODSP people on site and the Service Canada people on site. And we're going to be giving them a presentation actually on what they have to do to report the change of income, all in an effort to stabilize tenancies and avoid retroactive rent charges and different things that sometimes happen when that transition occurs. So we're going to target those people, and we're going to really try to avoid that from happening.
Wow, that's great. Congratulations on that.
Will this be through meetings or one-on-one?
It'll be both. So there'll be an open meeting where people can walk in, and then there'll be times where they can schedule appointments to actually meet with the Service Canada agents or ODSP.
Perfect.
Great.
Terrific.
So keep us informed of how that progresses. That's terrific to see the partnerships.
Yeah.
Well, if there aren't any other questions, we're going to move on to the next item, which is actually an approval item, and that's the work plan of OACH for 2026. Go ahead, Melanie.
Yeah. So you want me to walk you through it now?
Yeah. The highlights. Yeah. Great.
Yeah, so I'm really excited through the chair. Sorry, I'm actually really excited. This is the first work plan developed exclusively for TSHC. So historically, the OACH was including its work with TSHC in the yearly work plan that was approved by the TSHC Board of Directors. For 2026, it was decided that given the unique needs of TSHC and the organization's distinct arrears collection process, that it made sense to create a separate work plan. So this work plan will allow the OACH to tailor its approach specifically to TSHC tenants while providing the board with clear oversight of eviction prevention, policy compliance, and systemic risks. For 2026, the work plan sets out 4 goals, which include preventing evictions, auditing compliance with the arrears collection process, strengthening community partnerships, and enhancing reporting and governance. The approval of this work plan ensures continued protection for vulnerable seniors, strengthens accountability, and positions the OACH as a strategic partner for TSHC. Thanks, and I can take any questions on this.
Great. I have one, but I'll open it up to others first. I'm not sure if people realize, but the origins of OACH was actually really focused on seniors. It was a senior who was evicted and met a tragic end. And I think sometimes people forget that it was actually originally focused on seniors in particular. And I just wonder, because the board has been increasingly interested in making sure that best practices that are happening in our corporation are actually being extended outward, and it's great to have that separate plan, but I'm wondering if you can comment, Melanie, on how these best practices are actually also being extended to seniors that aren't in the seniors buildings, but are a big focus, I'm sure, of OACH still for TCHC.
So just through the chair, so I understand, are you saying like, what are we doing for seniors at TSHC?
Yeah,
Is that what you're looking for?
more that there's been such great progress with our seniors. You know, when this corporation was started, I think there was a little bit of fear that people that were happily in their other buildings and happened to be seniors as well wouldn't get the best of the best. And are they getting some of the access to these partnerships and other initiatives that OACH has been focusing on within our work plan?
Yes, so thank you. So through the chair, so yes, definitely. So we're doing the same partnership with Service Canada and ODSP. We're starting it as a pilot, and it'll be started downtown. So we're going to pilot it out in that building, and then we're looking to expand it all over to different TSHC locations. And again, we're applying the lens of looking at seniors who are between 63 to 64, transitioning from that ODSP to pensions. Also, TSHC has access to Wood Green and the rent bank, the same as TSHC does. And in addition, they also have access to, we do the case conferencing with them and the dashboard meetings. So we do provide those proactive audit findings. And we also do the case conferences with staff.
That's great.
Similar to how we do it with TSHC.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks.
So is your mandate just Toronto Community Housing and Toronto Seniors Housing? You're not available to other housing act?
No, so through the chair, yes. Yeah. So we provide, so Linda, what she explained is even before TSHC was created, our mandate was only senior and vulnerable tenants. Yeah. But then we do serve now TSHC, but our mandate actually further expanded in January 2022. So we do all tenants, so not just senior and vulnerable. Okay. Any tenant has to come to OACH before TSHC can file an application at the Landlord Tenant Board.
And you report to who? I know your hands off relationship, but do you report to City Council? Do you report to Toronto Community Housing?
Through the chair, I report directly to you guys, the board here, and then also to TSHC's board. So I report through the TSC committee at TSHC and through QTech here. And then if there's any administrative or operational issues, I would report through the CEO office if needed. But really, the relationship is directly with both boards of directors.
Okay. Okay, not City Council per se.
Yeah, it's a good reminder of the mandate of OACH. And I know Melanie, in the past you've actually spent some time with new board members. If anyone wants to have a little bit more background on OACH, because it's took me a while, and with the changing, but it's terrific. And the reason it comes to the board is we are actually responsible for this work plan and for this work for TSHC.
If I could say one more thing, Linda, maybe that might help clarify too, is I think later this year, or through the chair, later this year, we'll be updating our terms of reference, or that will be a report that we'll be looking at, and that might help clarify, as that outlines, or when we started, it outlined all the rules and how we report through to. So I think that'll be updated at the end of the year to include both new mandates, the TSHC piece and our mandate expanding to all tenants. So I'm sure you guys will have a line sight on that, and we'll bring it back to the board.
That's great. That's helpful. Thank you, Melanie. So this work plan, we are actually looking for a motion to approve. And so I'm looking for a motion to approve the work plan for OACH for Toronto Seniors Housing for 2026 as presented by Melanie. Jim, seconded by Jess. All in favor? Terrific. Thank you very much, Melanie, for your work and for taking those questions as well.
Yeah, thank you.
Terrific. All right, we are. Go ahead, Jim.
I just have a quick comment.
I
really am glad to hear their approach for seniors that are working, and then their income goes down, because in the past, like, I spent a decade in precarious work so that my income was going up and down, and during that time I was able to just contact Toronto Community Housing and say my income's going down, provide them with some proof, and the next month my rent was reduced. But there's a whole new process now, and I've been really fearful about taking full retirement because of that. And I'm just glad to hear that OCH is going to be there if I do have a problem once I take full retirement.
Thanks, Jim.
So I'm really grateful that they have this work plan and that they're going to be helping people like me as well.
That's great. Thank you, Jim. You're a great representative. So thank you.
Madam Chair, I think it also really speaks to how vulnerable our client base, tenant base. I mean, all these intersecting variables and it's mind-boggling even when you have the professional background. And but I think which is a real reminder that people do screw up and have screw ups in their life, and something happens financially, and then they tumble down the ladder and they can't get back up again, right? And it's really speaks to this fragility, you know, and the precarity of our tenants' lives.
Yep, and we want to see early intervention, and we want to see those the arrears being as small as possible. And it's nice to see that in our regular report. So, and a low number of evictions. So, thank you very much. Thanks for your comments, and we'll let you go, Melanie.
Okay, thank you.
Terrific. Thanks. And we're going to move on to item 12, which is our operational dashboard. And this is something that we have a report on. This is kind of your summary of everything that's happening that involves QTech. And this one will pass over to Brad.
Thanks, Lyndon. Through the chair, proud to present the December 2025 results for TSHC. And we've included a summary at the end that gives a comparison year over year, as it is an end of year report. First slide just gives an overview with regards to the vacancy rate, the arrears, work orders, pest management, and things like that. You see some of the seasonal trends starting to kick in with some of them. The arrears undoubtedly go up during December. People are focused on Christmas and time, and we have staff that are off and aren't as available. The one thing I'd point out here is the hold for OCH, which is up to 91,000. And that relates to files that Melanie and her team are working with the public guardian and trustee on. And we're just waiting for those referrals to be picked up. And unfortunately, that did go up $30,000 in the month of December. But as the PGT gets hold of those files, that will undoubtedly reduce. Next slide, please. Vacancies, you see the seasonal trend year over year. December tends to tick up. We do get an abnormal number of vacancies during the month of January and February, where we have more vacant units, and that'll be shown in the year over year display. The one thing I would say is that while the vacancy rate did increase, we actually brought down our 2025 average to 62 days to turn a unit over and get it back into service and back into a new person housed within that unit. And that's down from our average in 2025 of 69 days. Next slide, please. With regards to the work orders, you see a drastic drop for the month of December. We try and stay out of people's units. Generally, they don't want us in their apartment unless it's a critical or urgent kind of repair, as well as the number of staff that we have on vacation during the month of December, using that up. So by nature, you just see the number of work orders drastically decrease over the month of December year after year. But that'll be reconciled, and we do ensure that anything emergency or something that's going to lead to further deterioration of the unit or the asset or the building is taken care of, regardless of that kind of freeze during in-suite work. Next slide. This shows the number of administrative requests that our staff do. Again, you see the high numbers in July, August, and September. And just a reminder, that's when we're doing those annual unit inspections. So that's when we're catching things, tenants that we have concerns with regards to the state of their unit, or they reach out to staff during the unit inspection and ask for help and assistance. So those get flagged during those summer months, and then the staff work to bring those numbers back down. And as those numbers come back down to more the monthly averages, you see the percentage increase as far as completed by the end of the month and completed within 5 business days. On the right side, we've got a bit of a demographic there with regards to who's assisting tenants. Overwhelmingly, almost 50% of them are the senior services coordinators who are in the building. And most of the tickets relate to annual rent reviews and documentation, helping to kind of navigate that bureaucracy, which is one of the exciting things with regards to the partnership with Canada Pension and ODSP that Melanie was talking about earlier, is helping people navigate the system is overwhelmingly what our SSCs are dealing with when they're in the buildings. Next slide, please. This is our pest management. We've added a couple of new things here. There is on the plan that Grant presented earlier, you notice that there is a pest management report coming to this committee at the next QTech meeting. We did present the pest management plan at the November meeting. Since that meeting, I'll just add, we've trained 109 of our 416 staff with regards to how to perform block inspections, adherence to the contract, such. Out of that 109, 63 of them have passed and 41 we're still working on their assessments. And we have had some failures, and those staff will retake that training to ensure everybody's operating at the right level. Also, since November, aside from developing the training and providing it, we've escalated numerous concerns to Toronto Community Housing with regards to performance of the vendor. We'll continue to do that. I'm happy to say that Toronto Community Housing has agreed to set up quarterly meetings to review vendor performance and highlight our concerns with the vendor, as they do manage and hold the contract with the provider. And then in addition to that, we identified 65 units that had higher rates of treatment. These are units where there were over 15 treatments over the last calendar year. We've inspected all 65 of those units, as well as the surrounding units, in order to ensure that they're receiving the treatment and that we're not unaware of a unit next to somebody who's not receiving treatment or not asking for support. So at the next meeting, we'll bring some enhanced measures for regards to pest control, as well as another update on the plan and how it's going in order to reduce these infestations within our communities. Next slide. This is a summary of 2025, just kind of an overview. It gives arrears, vacancy, pest treatments, shows the high months, the low months. And again, as you can see, the arrears spike in January, the vacancy spike in February, just kind of as I was saying before. And we're aware of these seasonal trends and we take steps to get ahead of them. Next slide. This is a slide that Tom and I were discussing. It really kind of gives the committee an overarching view of kind of how we're doing year over year. We've been in place since 2022. We've had the homes and kind of been steady on our reporting and what we consider our KPIs for it. So just kind of showing that year over year, there is that progress. The highs are not as high, the lows are not as low, but we're going to work in 2026 to make them even better. Happy to take any questions with regards to any of the information in it.
I'll start with Jess and then Brenda.
Yeah, through the chair to the board to Brad. It looks like the vendor response time is lower than it's anticipated, of 5 days. And I'm wondering if there's any way to accelerate that opportunity to have things treated or managed in a faster way.
Yeah, through the chair, Jess, that's a great observation. What it is that 5-day vendor SLA is something that we inherited from Toronto Community Housing, and it actually doesn't even meet most of the contracts. And I'll give you an example. For pest control, you're only allowed to legally apply pesticides once every 2 weeks. So that's 14 days in between treatments, which means there's no possible way for that vendor to hit that service level. Again, when we're talking about replacing a kitchen and millwork and things like that, it's a 6 weeks according to the contract that the TSHC has with their vendor. So over the next little bit, we're going to look at revisiting some of that and changing the SLAs to actually meet what's in the contract so that we can ensure that we're getting contract compliance out of our vendors instead of this random kind of 5-day number that we inherited when we became a corporation.
Thanks, Brad. Brenda?
And just to follow up to that, Brad, are you, I don't know how to put this, but are you happy with the engagement you're having with Toronto Community Housing and with the vendors in terms of improving response times, improving outcomes? I mean, I know it's been a frustration in the past, but has there been an improvement in that monitoring of the vendors? Because our hands are tied. They're contracts with Toronto Community Housing.
Through the chair, a lot of our improvements kind of began back in September when we got some reporting changes that we're able to get out of our homes platform that all this information is stored in. And now that we've been able to approach Toronto Community Housing with data out of the system and point them at the vendors that maybe need a little bit of a talking to, maybe need to be brought in for a little vendor management meeting, and having the data to support the request for those conversations, the relationship's gotten a lot better with their vendor management people.
Okay.
And I believe we're headed in the right direction.
And that's because of the change in the data gathering.
Correct.
Yeah, if you can't count, it doesn't count. And my last question is on the summary, the year-over-year comparison. I noticed under the pest management, TSHC assistance and Toronto Public Health assistance, 89 and 98. So that appears to be much higher than what it was in the dashboard. Was that just for the month of December? You say here 7 units received Toronto Public Health assistance, 12 units received Toronto Seniors Housing assistance. So I just thought there was a bit of a, I found that, I thought it was low, but now I see with the summary numbers that it's closer to 200.
Through the chair, yeah. And I think that the expansion of the Toronto Public Health assistance and getting that up and increasing that has been a major area of work for us this year in order to work with our partners at the City of Toronto Public Health, them to supply us with the budget and the ability to prep the units. We know that's the largest impediment to seniors in order to receiving pest control. And it leads to ineffective outcomes when we do apply pesticide when the unit's not properly treated. So to continue to build on that partnership this year will be a focus that we'll be undertaking.
And do we have to use any legal mechanism that is going to public health and get an order? Are we able to do it within our own operational directions?
Through the chair. So part of the public health program in the past meant that the tenant had to receive an eviction notice prior to being eligible.
That's right.
They've waived that for us. They understand that is really a very bureaucratic thing that puts our tenants through a traumatic experience about receiving an N5 in order to be prepped. And they've waived that for us now.
Good.
It's
Glad
great
to hear. Thank you.
It's another good partnership. We're glad to see that. Jess?
Yeah.
I believe Costa had a question before.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, Costa. Costa, go ahead. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. And even though I'm not on the formally on the committee, just
you're welcome to ask a question. Brenda isn't either.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. And excuse my ignorance as a new member, but as an operator of housing in the area of Toronto and looking at some of these numbers, trying to make sense of them, pests, especially bed bugs, can be very hard to eradicate. And I see the numbers fluctuate as opposed to a meaningful spike or reduction. And they tend to hide into the walls if there's not an aggressive treatment. Do our vendors only use chemicals to treat those? I heard that they cannot go back within 5 days. Do they use, for example, heat treatment that does not limit them to 5-day windows or any windows whatsoever? Do we know?
Through the chair, so heat treatments are not always available. They're kind of dependent. You have to be able to run the wires down the outside of the building. What we've actually done is we've been piloting a new product, the name of which escapes me. It's a fungicide though that has a 3-month residual life when we apply it to the wall. So it's a fungicide that goes on the wall. The preparation isn't as rigorous for our tenants, and it does have a 3-month period, which the fungicide's still active for. At the next QTech meeting, I'll be bringing forth a full report with regards to our application of that product, our use of different treatments, as well as some improved metrics, because you're right, Costa, this doesn't really tell the full story. And that was one of the November reporting things, was how we were going to change the reporting to show better outcomes and look at buildings overall as far as an infestation rates.
So and again, Madam Chair, and again, thank you, Madam Chair. From experience, it was a very strategic approach from my experience, starting from cultivating the tenants to understand that it's okay to admit and share with us that there is an infestation problem. That was the start of the battle, where people thought that miraculously this problem would go away. Until they're totally infested, and then all the units all around them are infested as well. To finding the right pest control strategy, which in our case, again, we found heaters to be a bit more expensive, but more effective, because you're not limited with the chemicals. And also, we found out through our research that the chemicals that are allowed in this country, they're not necessarily as effective as they are elsewhere in the world. So you're very limited if you're only using chemicals. And then unless the vendor is prepared to parachute resources throughout the entire building, almost all at once, you're not going to solve the problems. You're going to see these numbers just fluctuate, because the bed bugs are going to leave. They're going to go to a common area, or they're going to go through the walls. They're going to hide, and they're going to resurface above, below, and everything else. And it's nice to hear Tom say that some money. Sorry, Tom, I missed the amount. So I would also in whatever summary or strategy we're putting together, would be interested to hear how this enhanced investment would be utilized to tackle the problem. Thank you.
Thanks.
Great. And we will have a more fulsome report. I will take questions. I just want to acknowledge that we are running behind on the agenda, and we have quite a few other agenda items. So I just acknowledging that. But Councillor Crisanti, always good to hear from you. So please go ahead.
Yeah, no, I noted too, we're running a bit behind, but just a couple of minutes, if we could, on this pest management topic that we're on, which is, always an issue that we're battling up here in Etobicoke North and other buildings. And it looks like when I look at the top 5 vendor work order categories, pest control continues to dominate this issue here. And it seems, what I'm seeing here, and I look at the stats and numbers, it doesn't look like we're really getting ahead of it. Just a couple of quick questions. I know that we react to work orders that come in with issues. Do we take a proactive approach? Can we have a proactive attack on these pest issues? And what would that cost to be able to do that? Because what I mean by proactive is we do a complete cleansing of our buildings, top to bottom, proactively, not just wait and react when I make a phone call and say, I got a problem, because by then it's too late. The problem is not going to continue to spread throughout, as we just heard. It costs to speak to that too. It just spreads like wildfire. Are we doing anything proactively? What would it cost to consider something on a very proactive way, and a total complete cleansing of our buildings from a pest control point of view?
Through the chair, Councillor, 33, one of our communities, sorry, I almost said the name, did have a full building treatment in 2024, and we measured the results against it. And because the behaviors didn't change, there was no change. The building is currently just as infested as it was prior to that investment in that building for the full treatment. What we did realize, and through that increased reporting, was that we didn't have, our staff weren't holding the vendors accountable to the contract and what there was required within that. So one of the things that we do is we do block treatments, which is when you find an infested unit, you treat the surrounding units and have them inspected, and you have preventative treatments done. What we found is that through the enhanced data and reporting that we have, was that those weren't being done on a consistent basis. And the buildings where it wasn't being done on a consistent basis were the buildings where the infestation rates were climbing and were not going down. When we looked at the best building that we have with regards to adherence to the contract, block treatments, inspecting the vendor's work, treated three units in 2025 for bed bugs in total, which is a phenomenal result. So when we were looking at the data, what we undertook was to get our other staff up to the level of that one. And that's why we went through the enhanced training. Once the training's complete, We could definitely look at another treatment cycle where we treat an entire building and see if that has a result. However, right now, until we have the staff and the ability to maintain the units and adhere to the contract, we've seen that the building just goes back to its prior state.
Yeah. Okay, and well, thank you, Brad. I know that it's an ongoing challenge, and I commend everyone for doing that the best we can under these circumstances. It's not easy, that's for sure. Anyway,
thank you,
Chair. Thank you. I'll put it back on because I know we're running behind. Thank you.
Thanks. And last comment to Jess.
Thank you, Madam Chair, to the Chair and Brad. I realize this is probably not part of the overall issue of administrative ticket assignment, but there's no indication of wellness checkups. And that again goes to my overarching theme of the integrated service model. Information to tenants concerning bed bugs and whatever is very helpful. Certainly pest control is essential to maintaining wellness for the tenants and giving them some comfort in their homes. And but again, it goes to the overarching issue of actual wellness checks and finding out where people are at. And we'll address that further in this meeting.
It's a really good point, Jess, and I'm sure actually Deanna in her report, maybe we could talk a little bit about that too, because I think there's a lot of initiatives that are underway to try to address that. And you're absolutely right, Jess, that it is integrated with pests and other living conditions. So with your permission, I'm going to ask that we move on to the next item because I know that there's already been a number of questions. We have a deputation and I'm going to ask, and we're going to go to the next item, which is the rapid rehousing update. And Anita Dressler is here to do a deputation and we're going to start with her. And just for board members, after Anita speaks, if there's questions of clarification, you could ask them. It's not actually meant to be a long conversation, but more clarification of the deputation. So we'll pass it on to Anita. And I think Karen's going to put the time clock on. Hi, Anita. Nice to see you.
Thank you, Linda.
Who is Anita?
Hi.
Anita is a deputant, Brenda.
Yes.
We're doing a deputation.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of this committee. Thank you for the opportunity to present this deputation. Tenant transfer is a subject that has been ignored or done in a fashion that impacts negatively on tenants, especially seniors, who lose part of their world, their comfort zone. Psychologically, emotionally, and cognitively, the senior feels abandoned and isolated from the norm. Seniors are human beings. One size does not fit all. The baggage that we bring, our interactions with others, the support from families, our likes and dislikes should be considered. When a request for a transfer occurs, the tenant should be interviewed. If a person wants to transfer because they feel unsafe or unwanted, or they want to be close to their religious affiliation or family, that's a reasonable transfer. But the people that want to be transferred within the building is the problem. And this is what I want to refer to. I'm going to give you two scenarios. But before I do that, the tenant that wants a modified apartment is moved without a thought once it's modified. But you're giving that modified apartment later on to someone that doesn't need it. That's poor planning. Now, for the two scenarios, one is a lady has severe asthma. Right outside her balcony is a bus stop and a crosswalk. So whenever the bus stops to disembark passengers or pick up passengers, it idles. Diesel fumes cloud the air. The lady has lived in the building for 10 years, provided medical documentation, and has not been able to go on her balcony or open a window. She requested a transfer to the other side of the building where there is no traffic. She was denied. She was told, well, we'll transfer you to Scarborough. This lady hasn't traveled east of Yonge Street in her lifetime. Her medical team is at Humber Hospital at Keele and Wilson. Her shopping is around the corner. Her church is about 4 or 5 blocks away. Taking her out of the building and putting her in unfamiliar scenarios will impact drastically on her emotional health, and it's not reasonable. The second scenario I'm going to bring up is a lady that's been harassed by another tenant. It was asked, and there's medical documentation because she's in a near breakdown state, nervous breakdown. An advocate asked for her to be moved to the other end of the building at another floor so that she's not in contact with the offender that's been harassing her. It was denied. She was told, well, we'll move you somewhere downtown to the west. This lady, first of all, her language skills are limited. She depends on her other friends in the building. She's 2 streets away from her church. She's less than a mile to shopping for her Korean food. She's being punished. She's being victimized, not only by the person harassing her, but by moving her into an unfamiliar location. Those are only 2. Seniors make up approximately 22% of the population. 16.8% have chronic conditions, emotional, mental, or mobility. Men over the age of 75 are the highest risk of suicide. Quite often, they suffer with clinical depression, which is never treated. Emotional factors play a big part in this. The loss of loved ones, loss of their mobility, the loss of their good health, and the loss of youthfulness. When people are removed from their comfort zone, issues occur. Substance abuse is evident. Isolation is the common factor. CAMH and the Mental Health Association of Canada have documented this. I'm going to give, I've given you the 2 scenarios, and I would like to go on with, sorry, I moved my things around. The emotional impact to people being moved is just explosive. They become depressed. They don't want to live. When they're in the same building where they've made friends, they make contacts, they have somebody that checks on them. Those are the people that thrive. The 2 scenarios I gave you make a difference. Psychological, emotional, cognitive, and mobility issues are real as we age. We need social interaction for a quality of life. For us, it's the relationships that we've built. The other tenants are our friends. Please do the right thing, creating a policy that accommodates the tenant, a policy for transfer to move for a valid reason, indicating that you are a landlord with compassion, good policies, and an understanding of your tenants. Life is hard. Independence important. Understanding staff imperative. Reasonable sound policies are a must. Please consider this deputation. Do the right thing. Thank you for allowing me to give it. Respectfully submitted.
Thank you, Anita, Mrs. Ressler, for your comments. Our next presentation is not specifically talking about transfers in the buildings, but I think that we should take this. It would be helpful, actually, maybe at a future board meeting for us to actually understand the transfer process and to review the policy. And I would say, Mrs. Ressler, if those 2 scenarios that you're talking about are specific and active right now, I'm sure some of our team members would be happy to have a conversation with you offline. To address those. I know you're trying to make the bigger piece, but they're specific situations.
They are active right now.
Okay, so would that be okay, Tom, if the team considers that with Anita, just because I don't think that this item will do justice to your powerful deputation. Go ahead, Tom. Oh, you're on mute.
Yes, through the chair to the committee, we just a factor considering these 2 specific cases, there has to be consent, right, from the individuals involved about the discussion with Anita. So I just think that's important as well.
That wouldn't be an issue.
Absolutely. And I wasn't actually like assuming that you would actually.
Thank you.
I think just more to take it
Right.
offline and have a
That's
further
fine.
conversation.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. Because I just don't think that we will address this fully in the item that's really around the rehousing, but perhaps we could bring forward just something about the number of transfers in the building and outside of the building and the reasons for that at some other point for our information. That would be great. So thank you, Anita.
Thank you very much for your time.
And I'm going to pass it on to Grant. Was it Grant or Brad? I have to look at my notes to talk about the rapid rehousing.
Thanks, Linda. Provided the committee with a report with regards to the rapid rehousing. It's a bit of an annual report that comes out, highlights where people are being housed through the program, as well as how many people are housed through the rapid rehousing program and what the percentages are as far as the actual units that they occupy. The one thing I always like to preface when I speak about the rapid rehousing program is this is a program that was created by the City of Toronto, and it had to do with placing people out of precarious housing such as shelters and into subsidized housing in order to have them succeed. The people who come through this program, in addition to being screened through what's known as the STARS assessment, which is basically measuring their level of need and the level of support that they would require in order to maintain their housing. The other part about it is that they do come with the city pays for 12 months of additional support through a third-party vendor in order to come out and assist the people with transitioning into being housed and out of the shelter system. The people that come through this program, the households that are housed through it, do count against Toronto Seniors Housing's housing disadvantage code. So what it is that in the past, 1 in every 5 vacancies would go to somebody who was tagged as housing disadvantaged, which meant that they were in the shelter system. Those 1 in 5 were coming into TSHC with no supports and no social workers to assist them in being housed and maintaining their housing. The number of clients that we accept through the rapid rehousing program counts against that. So a lot of times people, when they speak of the program, will talk about people coming out of the shelter system and into housing. And what I like to point out is that these people and these units were going to be filled in this manner regardless. Through the rapid rehousing program, though, the city provides 12 months of supports, and those supports originally were stated for 12 months. And now through some of the learnings that we've had, the program's been around for a couple of years now. Based on the recommendations of our complex tenancy senior services coordinators, they're able to extend those. And what we've seen is the success rate of the rapid rehousing program far outweighs the success rate of the housing disadvantaged program. And you can see from the numbers that the number of disadvantaged housing units within TSHC has decreased. As I mentioned, counts against the same quota that we would have in order to, when bringing people out of the shelter system and into our buildings. Happy to take any questions with regards to the program, the methodology used, and the agreement with the city.
What do you mean counts against? You mean if there's a target of 100, it's both the DA and the rapid rehousing combined?
Yeah, through the chair. So it's 1 in 5 vacancies, which roughly runs out to 125 vacancies a year for TSHC that would come through the disadvantaged housing program.
Right.
And now those 125 come through the rapid rehousing program.
Okay.
So we don't
substituting. So it's substituting
1 in 5 units because we do the mass allocation throughout the year and spread it out.
So is it substituting for the disadvantage?
Yes.
So we don't have 2 counts. We just have 1 count.
Correct.
Just one. And I think Jess and Jim had questions earlier. So Jess?
Yeah. My question is, how do folks who access the rapid housing get integrated or assessed for the community that is already existing? I have heard stories about people not being able to accommodate themselves to being rehoused, or people within the existing community not being able to accept them. And I don't know what sort of integration or support system there is for both sides of the equation.
Through the chair, there is not, they're coming through this, the rapid rehousing clients are coming through the centralized wait list. These are applicants who are already on it. So when they're assessed for housing, they're assessed at the shelter that they're currently residing through the STARS assessment that the city uses. And then from there, they're placed within an appropriate unit within TSHC based upon things that Ms. Dressler was speaking about, their proximity to their community. If the shelter has been able to find them a physician, they would locate them in a community closer to that physician. The program is not the same program that was rolled out when it first occurred. We're getting a lot more cooperation, and the Housing Secretariat's office has been a fantastic partner in this and realizing some of our concerns. Recently, when you see some of the numbers with regards to people that have vacated these units, that hasn't always been through eviction. Occasionally, we'll meet with the Housing Secretariat's office and other city staff, and we'll review a tenancy, and we can see that it's just not working out for the community or for the person that was housed. And then that person will be removed from the community and placed into either another community, or maybe they go back into the shelter system until a more appropriate unit and a more appropriate community that they can more fit into is found for them.
Thank you. So Jim, did you have a question as well? I know you had a question earlier. I just was going to ask Jim first, Brenda.
Yeah, go ahead.
Cleared up the question that I had.
Okay,
and
thank you.
I'm glad to hear that this move is being made, and I think it's successful. I think it's successful, and I'm really glad to hear it.
Some of the revisions to it. Yeah, thanks. Sorry, Jess, did I cut you off? Did you have another comment?
Just anecdotally, and I will always sort of go back to my own community where someone was brought into our community and was aggressively attacked because of their sexuality, and that there was no attempt or opportunity for the SSC to have a conversation with the community regarding this person, and eventually for this issue as well as others, she took me. So there is an impact both on the community and on the individual.
Thanks. You raise a good point in terms of preparing the community as well, right? Thanks, Jess. Brenda, did you have a comment?
Just a quick one, a couple quick ones on the STARS tool, service tree. What is it looking at? What is it assessing?
The STARS, through the chair, the STARS stands for the Service Triage Assessment Referral Support, and it's an industry-wide tool that's used within the shelter system to measure the level of support a person would require and their ability to function independently. As a reminder, we are an independent living facility, so they're trying to match potential tenants with people that would succeed in living independently and wouldn't require the support of a supportive housing model or something a little more intensive.
So these are people who could manage independently in the community, yes, as distinct from supportive housing. Okay. Okay, so and once that's done at the shelter, that then identifies people who are suitable for rehousing.
Through the chair, correct. And then those people after that point are then matched with units within TSHC as well as other social housing providers.
So we have a good profile on them and their needs and wants and difficulties.
Yes.
Thank you.
And it's approximately 150 a year that we're admitting through this initiative.
Through the chair, yes, about 150 new tenants per year.
Thank you. Okay. So we'll continue to report on this. This is I think this was an annual, but I think that this comes up quite regularly. I'm not sure if there's a way that we can continue to actually just pay attention to how we're doing, how people are integrating. It is interesting. I think if I read the report, there isn't actually a greater leaving of these folks as opposed to others. So there's some that the 12 months of support is probably helping quite significantly. Jim?
Can't hear you.
I just wanted to say that I think that the move you made of making it one stream and looking for clients who are suitable to be rehoused, because many of the people, clients that I have are not ready to be rehoused.
Right.
They're the state of mind they're in and their actions say that they need something more than just being housed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that Connections Plus is going to go a long way in helping to make this even more successful.
Thanks, Jim. Your background and experience is helpful for us in this. All right, thank you. We will continue to have this as an item that comes forward. And if there's changes that are that are happening, please keep us informed if you can, Brad. I'm going to now move it over to, we've got a few other items. So we're going to move over to the TSHC annual plan, and Grant is going to walk us through that.
Thank you. Through the chair and to the committee, report on item 14. So for 2026, we've proposed an annual plan approach. So as the committee is aware, for 2023 to 2025, we had our strategic directions, and the strategic directions have now concluded. And some information about the conclusion of the strategic directions is included in this report, where we've actually achieved approximately an 80% conclusion overall. However, to ensure consistency as we move forward, and as the committee is aware, we're undertaking a new strategic directions renewal project this year. We've developed an annual plan to be an interim framework for us for this year only. And it's to be in place until we have the next multi-year plan when we do the renewal of the strategic directions. So the annual plan that is before the committee today is a consolidated view of some of the initiatives that were previously on the 2023 to 2025 strategic directions, as well as some emerging priorities. And we've had a couple of internal planning conversations with the leadership team back at the end of 2025 and earlier this year in January to review and prepare the material that's before the committee today. So in the attachment on this report, there are a total of 32 initiatives or projects on the 2026 annual plan. And they are all aligned into the existing objectives and enablers from our strategic direction. So they're aligned into a familiar framework. Similar to previous years in terms of how we've brought forward changes to the strategic directions roadmap at the beginning of the year. The intent is for this to be brought forward to board at the next board meeting for approval once it gets discussed here. I just want to acknowledge Christine Yan, our strategy and policy lead, is also on the meeting today with us and has helped facilitate the process in developing this material. And then our intent for this year is to keep the committee and board updated with quarterly progress reports, similar to how we've done it with the strategic directions, but instead of using the strategic directions as the template, we're using this annual plan as the template. And the attachment lists the key initiatives that we're going to have on that for this year. So I'll open it up to any questions. I don't think, just given time, I won't go through the attachment in detail, but if there are any questions, I can take those.
Thanks, Grant. I know that it was a big package. So Jess? Go ahead, Jess.
Unmute. There we go. So my overarching question is about the integrated service model. I note on page 69 of partnerships discuss Parks and Recreation, Toronto Police Services, Toronto Fire Services, Toronto Public Health. But I also know that there has been a pilot project for Toronto paramedics. And I'm wondering how the announcement of additional paramedics in the system will be integrated or approached or gained for further wellness checks in additional buildings other than, I think, 3 that are currently in the system.
So through the chair and to the committee, The annual plan that's before you is not necessarily an exhaustive list of all the different programs and partnerships that are planned for the year, and that is an important consideration. The update that's coming a little later in the meeting, I think Deanna might be able to speak to the sort of the aspects associated with paramedics. What's on the annual plan are the sort of the key priorities overall with regard to this. The context for the more sort of the integrated service model and kind of how that applies, it's applied in different ways. So overarchingly, the integrated service model was the context for our overall strategic directions and those objectives and enablers that we have as an organization. And as we continue to develop and renew those strategic directions, the integrated service model will be taken into view as we, as an organization, work through a process to refine and come up with new and changes to those strategic directions. And there's also, and I didn't highlight it earlier, but there is a plan that was on the QTech work plan for the next meeting of QTE to actually have an update on the integrated service model here for the committee. So there'll be a more specific targeted update on that. So there's also work going on there.
Yeah, that's helpful, Grant. And maybe Deanna, you're good, Jess, at actually bringing us to the next item. But maybe what Deanna could talk about is how we can integrate new partnerships when new opportunities arise, like the increased paramedics, and whether that program we're availing ourselves of as well. But go ahead, Jess. I see your hand up.
Yeah, the timeliness of responses. Again, I can only deal with my own building, although I do have anecdotal information. In a building with 69 units, over the last 8 months, we've had 4 incidents of people being severely affected by the inability for a timely response. In one instance, the person was dead for 2 days before she was found. In another instance, a person was laying on his floor for 2 days before somebody heard him. The third instance was just this Sunday, where paramedics arrived, weren't able to access his unit because it was a remote control and he had control of the remote. So they weren't able to enter the building and response time was slow. He's now in the hospital. And a fourth instance was another person on the 8th floor who also had to go to the hospital in not a timely manner. So having access to master key by all service providers, whether they be paramedics or police or fire department or security people, is vital, and it will lead to better outcomes for people's health.
Thanks, Jess. You're bringing up an important issue. I'd love to actually get an approval of this annual report and then actually tag into your comments and have Deanna speak a little bit more about the partnerships with paramedics in your report on our programs and partnerships. Are you okay if we move to that item and get an approval on? I just want to make sure everybody's okay with this annual report. I think significant that this is kind of a report for the year that will be updated when we have our new strategic directions. Brenda?
Just 2 quick questions. The external consultant.
Yep.
That will just be for the consultation piece? Like,
So
I'm not quite certain their role in all of this strategic direction stuff. Are they directing and guiding the whole strategic planning process?
So through the chair and to the committee, the new strategic directions, the consultant that's been engaged is going to help us with the consultation activities.
Okay.
So it's a hybrid approach where staff will still be doing the actual work on the refinement of the ultimate material on future strategic directions that'll come forward through committee. Right. And the consultant and their name is the Beam Group. They're going to be helping us with regards to the consultation, and there'll be specific and targeted consultation for board members as well.
And that was approved by the board.
Yeah. I just couldn't remember the scope of their
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I had a couple questions, which you please direct me, Linda, how you want me to do
Yeah,
this.
I'm just a little worried with if I lose people at 5 o'clock. So if you could be quick, Brenda.
Is there anyone else?
Or if there's things that you could follow, like is it going to prevent us from approving this annual report?
No, I wouldn't say prevent you. My concern was just issues about community safety unit and the issue of what's counted. I don't know if this is something that can be reported later on, but I know there's so many phone calls that are made. Obviously, I don't trust any of these figures because lots of people don't report. So I'm just trying to get a handle, and we can discuss this later, but just that we be a little careful about accepting on face value certain facts. I'm a big believer in looking at the facts, but I'm concerned with the community safety that it doesn't address these tenant on tenant things, which seems to be increasing in problematic behavior, and the police role as well as the special constable role in dealing with this, because we all have had experience where the police do nothing or they say they can't do anything, and then the special constables don't seem to be doing stuff as well. So it's part of that safety piece for tenants, and that various people, including Jess, have identified. And I'd just like us to be at some point looking at that, diving down a little more granular.
Great. And we do actually, if we get to it, item 17 is on the community safety numbers and things. So, all right, could I get an approval if we're comfortable? If we're not comfortable approving it, I'm okay with that too. I'm looking at, I think we might have lost the counselor. So I'm looking at Jim and Jess, if you're comfortable approving the annual report as presented. Oh, thank you. All in favor? Terrific. And I think that we will move on. This is good timing segue. You're going to have a little bit of a time pressure, Deanna, but maybe we can.
That's okay.
Yeah, I don't like rushing it, and I apologize. I think this agenda was a little bit too ambitious to actually get through really important items, and kind of speaks to my issue about maybe we need an extra meeting in the year, because I don't like rushing people, and I do apologize for rushing people through. So Deanna, I know maybe in the presentation you could also talk a little bit about how we develop a partnership with the paramedics or that kind of thing. So go ahead.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Thank you, Linda. No problem. I'll keep my comments brief. Through the chair, maybe I'll make an initial comment on our work with the community paramedics. So how we work, they're a good example of how we work with other partners who establish their own programming across the city. And what we do is every year, as an annual planning process takes place by the community paramedics, they use their own data around 911 calls, incidents, all the things that measure their work. We provide some recommendations of sites that we either hear from tenants or we know through our operational work would benefit from some of the programming provided. And we take part actively in those planning processes every year. When more funding comes through, as per Jess's comments, we push even harder and try to remind them that we have additional buildings that go well beyond their scope, or well beyond their typical funding, I should say, and we could take on more. But we're really part of a broader process there, and share our knowledge of our tenant needs and buildings as part of that process. So Jess, if you have more comments on that, certainly can take that offline or answer through this. But how about I make some quick comments on the two reports that I'm bringing forward, and we can go from there. So through the chair, very briefly, both community programs and partnerships and communications have had a strong year marked by growth, higher demand, and deeper collaboration with tenants, staff, the city, and all of our partners. Tenant engagement remained high. We completed priority planning in Q4 across almost all of our sites, and both tenant-led and agency-led programming has continued to grow significantly, as you can see both in the dashboard and in the presentation that I provided to you in advance of today's meeting. We were also able to advance a number of research and innovation initiatives or under that umbrella. We advanced some new health promotion pilots. So we are working with our partnership table to conduct some research into new models and figure out what implementation looks like at TSHC. We've engaged in conference presentations, research activity that has gone broad and public, and that work will continue very much so in 2026. And I'm looking forward to that report at the next QTE, where Tom and I can share some of those evolutions and insights on research and innovation. On the communication side, 2025 was a year of clear storytelling, strong visual assets, and improved tenant and staff communication channels. So we maintained our standards, but we're able to step above and beyond in particular areas like translation and interpretation, and the launch of our new intranet system, a huge milestone, many staff involved to move that milestone forward and improve our staff communications. So I'm just focusing on a few things here. Looking ahead to 2026, our focus is on strengthening standards and processes, enhancing how we support our tenant volunteers, and deepening this innovation and aging at home work that we are actively engaged in now. And I will continue to report on this progress and these KPIs in 2026 through our quarterly reports on these portfolios. And with that, I will pause for any questions that we can fit in under the short time that we have left.
We'll make the time because it was an important report. So go ahead, Jess.
Thanks, Linda.
Okay. So my question, Deanna, through the chair to the board, is about how the paramedic structure looks at choosing locations. Our building has had a lot of new intake. To my knowledge, there has no been.
Can't hear you, Jess.
There hasn't been a wellness assessment for people who are coming into the building. I believe that if SSCs were more engaged with the intake process and looking at how people are aging, I had today a report from someone who is developing rapid mental health challenges. Always been a very active member of the community. So the demographics of each building change, and I'm wondering how the paramedic program can be agile enough for each building to have an assessments need.
So that is. Thanks, Jess. Through the chair. So I think you're speaking to many interesting questions about how the paramedics themselves assess their data. So I think what I can do, Jess, is take offline. I just had a great conversation with them as well about the community paramedics program. They didn't get into too much about how they assess need, but I'm happy to make that connection. And we can build some of your knowledge and our understanding of how those decisions are made. They also reshared with me a referral form that they have that tenant staff are able to use to refer folks in to the community paramedics program to get supports if they're seeing someone who may need them. We're in the process right now of getting it recirculated to staff, so senior services coordinators, just refreshing. It's been circulated before, and sharing that message with tenant volunteers as well. So I hear you there, Jess. I can make that connection and we can make sure that information gets out there on referrals in to community paramedics.
It almost sounds like a good presentation, like if the community paramedic program could be presented at STAC or somewhere, like, because I think, and I guess the other question that Jess had was about the wellness, like how we know the needs of the tenants. That's but if you wanted to comment on that in terms of the processes, I think that's our integrated service model, and we're going to be presenting on that the next meeting.
Through the chair, I think you're right, Linda. I think there's a bigger conversation there that's worth presenting. If Brad or Tom have specific comments on wellness checks themselves, I defer to them. But I think there's more to talk about there in terms of how we support tenants and know about their needs. Yeah.
Go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, just quickly through the chair to the committee. This is, just remembering that as part of the Housing Services Act, we cannot assess the tenants for need. However, we are working through this, and once again, both through the performance management process with me and the upcoming presentation in May, we will be talking about our specific research work with Dr. Agarwal around understanding needs in all 83 of our buildings, what data she has been getting for us. We also are doing some work with Ontario Health, at TSHC, and ourselves around indicators to reflect need in our buildings. So we're drilling for it, we're mining for it to get it, but we have been taking the lead on trying to establish what is the need, what is the profile of the tenants in our building. So more to come.
Thank you. This is yeah, it's good to see what the interests of the board members are. Brenda, last comment.
Just a general comment in relation to the previous two folks here. It seems to me we need to have a overarching discussion about what it is we should or could be doing, like not just only doing bits and bobs, you know, but what should be our role and assessment, if any. Okay, I mean, there's always this debate between whether you provide services on site versus in the community, you know, how that has an impact on seniors, right? Pro and con. But I think we need to drill a little deeper as to, well, what do we see our role to be? And once you start getting into health related stuff, then that speaks increasingly to the need to provide supports on site, which has other implications, as Tom has indicated. So for me, what I'm feel I'd like to comment or see, or maybe feel missing, is under the partnership and the innovation section. I still think we need to do a little more strategic thinking here. And I think we've expressed during the summer, our summer meetings on strategic planning, that the need to not just take operational matters and call that innovation, you know. And I think taking a broad overview of what role we think we should be playing in these things, I think, is necessary before we go off half-cocked and just.
Thanks.
I'm not saying these are not useful things, as I do believe they are, but I just think we need to ask some of those step back questions, you know.
Thanks, Brenda. Yeah, and I think that we will be having a presentation on the innovation, which is, I think, actually very, very worthwhile to present and is not so operational. And I do think that piece, the integrated service model that's coming up in our work plan as well will actually speak to what we're doing in terms of the areas that you've identified. So I just want to thank Deanna, and I hope that people had a chance to look at the two reports, because they were actually very very thorough, and reflects a lot of increase in the number of partnerships and the number of the things that we were actually really trying to promote early on in this organization about tenant-led activities, and you know, seeing that in the translation policy being implemented. So I think just wanted to kudos to you on those areas. I do want to move on to the next item. So with your permission, I'm going to go on to our facility condition index, and we're very, very fortunate to have two team members from TCHC. This is really timely, since you seem to be getting a lot of media attention, I think, proactively set out into the media. I think there was just a report in the Star on the weekend. I think it was the Star. So I wanted to welcome Noah Slater and Tara Congrim Jin, who have joined us today to give us a report on the facility condition index. And if you weren't worried before, now we can really talk. So you don't have to minute that. Welcome, Noah and Tara, and I'll put it over to you. Or does anybody else from TSHC want to open this up? Or?
Through the chair, just quickly, this is an item that we know the committee and TSHC board as a whole has been interested in understanding at a greater level how capital is dealt with. So we do appreciate Noah and Tara joining us today for this. This is to help fulfill some outstanding sort of opportunities to bring this together. So nothing else, I think, to add at this point. And I think this will be great for the committee to hear.
Yeah, thank you. And over to you, Noah and Tara.
Thanks so much. Can you hear me?
We can, thank you.
Okay, great, because I've called in and I'm on camera here, because I'm going to have to step off camera in about 20 minutes. And thank you very much for having us. And Grant, thanks for your patience too. Typically, we bring the TCHC has brought a very simple SCI report to its own board, just a single number and tracking against a 10% goal, which was our 10-year plan. And this year, along with Tara, led by Tara, who is our Director of Capital Planning, the idea was to bring some deeper cuts against condition and take a closer look and really dig into what the data was telling us and how our money was being spent. So we appreciate the group being patient. This is a long time coming. And we put this presentation together that is similar to what we brought to our board, but gives a more senior portfolio focus to it. So there's some larger context pieces, and then we drill into the seniors piece alone. So I encourage people to Also go to the TCHC buyback meeting from late last year and take a look at that broader piece as well. I'm going to turn it over to Tara. She's going to walk us through this, and I'm going to provide some color. And thank you for the invite. We're thrilled to be here. Over to you, Tara. Sorry.
Oh, can't hear you.
We're still having issues hearing. It doesn't look like you're on mute, Tara. It could be through WebEx. You have to change your microphone. If you click the arrow down beside mute, it will give you your speaker and microphone options.
And while Tara does that, I'll just get it started. We're going to take a look at the portfolio at large, just to begin. So TCHC has over 2,100 assets. So this is buildings, the typologies break down like high rise, mid rise, but we also include parking garages, sites are also included on those 2,100 assets. Our core capital assets, meaning ones that contain units, are numbered at 1,728. The assets that we're looking to revitalize, like demolish and build anew as part of our development plan, is 145 of those assets. And we have non-reporting commercial spaces as well in our TCHC portfolio, right? And when we look closer at the Toronto seniors, we have 177 assets, including 168 of these core capital assets, meaning they have units in them, and of those 9 are to be revitalized. As you probably read in the article from this weekend and this morning, which is a great article, in our opinion, that both showed that we've been spending money on in a very effective way, and the funding was put forward in an efficacious kind of manner against improving facility condition, but that we need more, and that we have needs coming towards us at a rate that is many times faster, 7 times faster than what we've seen, right? And the average age of our assets are around 50 years old. So 60% of the seniors portfolio was built between 1950 and 1980. And as a building gets older, obviously that the needs get more, they get deeper, right? You're not just looking at smaller scale repairs, right? You're looking at systemic failures in buildings like envelope systems, mechanical systems, et cetera. Next slide, please. And Tara, when and if you get sound, chime in. This is Tara's work. She's a brilliant colleague, so you're getting the NOAA version, right? So what is this table saying? You know, if you're looking through it, it's your portfolio broken down by replacement cost by typology, number by typology. So a tower is 1 and a house is 1 in this kind of view. The size by square footage, and divisional units, meaning where units are located. And what this basically tells you, and when it's more pronounced when you look at it portfolio wide, is that essentially across our entire portfolio, the majority of people live in the minority of our assets, right? Like portfolio wide, 80% of our tenants live in 20% of our assets by numbers. That's where our units and replacement values sit. Where? In large towers, right? And multi-unit residential buildings. So that gives you an idea and some clues about where we need to invest and where you get value and where you can impact the most tenant lives. Next slide.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Next. Yes.
Oh,
yes,
we can. This is
I'm
like
so
Tara's
sorry.
nightmare, right? Like me speaking for her. Go ahead, Tara, take it from here.
No. I should know well. I came from the city and they had WebEx. So, okay. So just to get into this, we currently report on several different metrics. I think one of the main ones that people kind of see is the Facility Condition Index, which we'll get into a little bit more in the next couple slides. In terms of investment impact, we track that through State of Good Repair backlog, which is the backlog of capital work we need to do based on available funding. We track actual spending, capital, and operating budgets and make adjustments as needed. And we also have service outcomes that align with the CMHC requirements, so covering affordability, accessibility, energy efficiency, and demographic considerations. Next slide, please. So in terms of project prioritization, which we've had a couple of touch points with the TSHC team, and obviously we'll be working together more closely. Project prioritization, we collaborate with teams to review capital requests. A new capital request intake tool has been created for 2026 that incorporates the prior data that was previously in what was known as a capital request file. So in terms of prioritizing on key criteria, we look at the facility condition index, assessing the physical state and urgency of repairs, health and life safety, ensuring safety standards are met, accessibility, are we supporting inclusive and compliant infrastructure, energy performance, are we promoting sustainability and efficiency, stakeholder matters, reflecting input from users and departments, and notices of violation. Are we addressing any MLS or fire code compliance issues? Next slide, please. So this is a big one. Just to try to take it back a little. The facility condition index, for those who don't know, is the calculation that includes the cost of the accumulated backlog for the state of good repair work divided by the current replacement value of assets multiplied by 100,000. So the resulting percentage will indicate the condition of the asset or portfolio from good up to 5% to critical over 30%. So to better understand this calculation, I'm just going to quickly walk you through some of the key pieces. The accumulated backlog reflects the annual gap between the capital state of good repair needs identified through condition assessments and the approved funding that we received. It is then added to the previous year's balance. The original forecast for the 2024 backlog for the overall TSHC portfolio is 1.752 billion. At 2024 year end, the actual backlog based on performance is closer to about 1.7 billion. So for TSHC, we have calculated the backlog for 2024 at approximately 291 million. Now, the replacement value is determined by multiplying the size of the asset by the current estimated cost to replace it. So for 2024, the replacement value was calculated at 14.295 billion for the overall TSHC portfolio. However, it's important to note that in 2025, the calculation of the replacement value has been updated to align with the City of Toronto's corporate asset management plan. So it now includes soft costs and other assets, including revitalized sites, commercial sites, the Region Park District Energy System, and IT equipment. So overall, that value has increased to a larger value, obviously, that you're going to see in the budget notes. But in terms of the calculation, we're still using the 14.295. For TSHC, we've calculated the replacement value at 2.6 billion. So in summary, if you divide the 2024 backlog for TSHC of 291 million by the replacement value of 2.6 billion, we get an FCI of about 11.3%. Sorry, I was getting into a lot of the details there. Next slide, please.
We'll keep it high level going forward. But so think about your car. If we could just stay on that one just for one more second. Think about your car, right? Your car might have a value to buy a new car. It might be, like $40,000, $60,000, $20,000. I haven't bought a car in 14 years, so don't ask me. But you start to look at accumulated repairs, and at one point, you're going to make a decision. If you had the amount of repairs over the cost to replace, at some point, it becomes, a decision to buy a new car. We don't always have that decision when it comes to homes where people are living, live homes, right? So think about FCI that way. It is one metric, though. We put a lot of emphasis on it, but it is affected by the numerator and the denominator. It's good for giving you the overall shape of things you're looking at, but it doesn't necessarily give you the details or how to make decisions about investments. But it is a good sort of follower indicator to see how well you're spending in certain ways, right? So it's not the end all be all, and you have to look at a portfolio as complex as ours of a number of different ways. Back to you, Tara.
Okay, next slide, please. So the next couple of slides are going to be at a higher level, but just to give you an idea in terms of where we're at. In 2020, obviously in 2024, we're doing the year-end kind of look. We will come back with 2025. but we've spent close to 225 million or 71% on targeted work that addressed the backlog. When we look at the overall picture of where we've been, we've actually improved from 16.2% in 2017 to 11.8% by the end of 2024, outperforming 2023 estimates, which had us at 13.4%, as you can see in the chart. So by 2033, the overall FCI is projected to rise to nearly 20%, which is nearly 5% more than the forecast we had in 2023 of 14.79. The reason we're seeing this increase is because we've updated condition assessment data in 2024 of 483 sites, which is 20% of our asset value. And that has identified an increased capital needs due to our aging infrastructure. Next slide, please. The purpose of the graph on this slide is just to illustrate the impact of the investment on our FCI. You can see the yellow line depicts where we are currently at with 2017 to 2024 actuals and a future year projection to 2034 based on the planned funding we receive from the city and CMHC. TSHC's FCI for 2024, you can see it there is highlighted by the green circle. The red line shows us that without investment from 2017 onwards, the FCI could have rose to 26.4% by the end of 2024, which is almost 15% higher than our current FCI of 11.8, and to 46.2% by 2034.
So what is this graph telling us very quickly? Had we not invested, you can see the red line, we would be closing units, we would be careening towards a portfolio that is beyond rehabilitation, beyond any investment, right? When you start to get to places like 40% by 2030, it can be very difficult. In blue, you're seeing our forecast. So actually, we're doing better than we forecasted we would do in 2017 with that money. However, you can see that the incoming needs are starting to exceed what we had forecasted. So right now we're at a crossroads where we're doing better than we had forecasted, but we're about to see a divergence and we're about to see incoming needs start to deplete our plan. And what we're seeing generally is that the seniors portfolio on average is slightly better than the portfolio average in terms of SEI condition. Back to you.
Next slide. So we have a couple of different views to show you, try to get the picture across, but this slide provides another view of the changes in our FCI from 2017 to 2025, grouped by development. So the four colors obviously correspond to the FCI ranges, green for good, obviously red critical. So you can see obviously the changes in number, the amount in each of the ranges. So you can see our capital plan has delivered some measurable improvements over the past 10 years. More units and buildings are now in good condition, resulting in better living experiences for tenants.
And when you say we, you're referring to Toronto Community Housing?
As a whole, yes.
Okay. All right.
We're going to get, in the next couple slides, I'll give you a more detailed view of the TSHC buildings.
All right, thank you.
Next slide, please. So this slide kind of gives you another kind of view, of how we're looking at the FCI in 2017. The chart has an umbrella shape with most units clustered in fair or poor condition. By 2025, we're flipping more to a martini glass shape with the majority of units now considered in good condition. So in terms of when you're looking at FCI range, the number of needs divided by the replacement value. So overall, we are seeing a positive shift. The number of good rated units has tripled. Fair increases slightly and the poor has dropped by more than a quarter. Next slide, please. So this is where we've actually provided a more granular lens to the portfolio data. So you're not just seeing a number, and this is the view for the TSHC assets in the core capital program. So it doesn't include, because the revitalized sites are not going to have that impact on FCI. It's the core capital program. So for reference on this slide, there are two charts. The chart to the left provides a breakdown of FCI by the asset typology, from buildings to parking garages and sites. And the chart to the right provides a breakdown by the FCI condition rating from good to critical. So you'll see that over 43% of the portfolio is considered in good to fair condition. and account for nearly 44% of the portfolio by size, 49% by replacement value, and close to 48% of unit count. On the other end of the spectrum, about 57% of assets are considered in poor to critical condition, representing over 50% of the portfolio by size, replacement value, and unit count.
Right. So this is like your pocket guide, everybody, to your portfolio. I encourage everybody to take a look at this because it tells a story. Like you'll notice none of your high rises are in critical condition, but a big percentage of what's in critical is actually your sites by component, right? Like, so that tells you that the shape of the sites are a drag on the portfolio. Sites aren't always our highest priority. You don't live in the site, right? Like we try to direct money where there's most value, where there's units, especially with fixed budgets. But this is sort of like a pocket guide to how you're doing by typology, by unit, by size. So do take a look at this one. And I think the next slide is a sort of expanded version. So,
and what's a site?
A site is the landscape, let's say, or the
okay.
grounds around a building
okay.
or asset.
All right.
Next, yeah. So this
So
is
a development, like sorry, Tara, like a development, like 91 Augusta, right? Might have a building component, might have an underground garage component to it, and also a site around it. So it'll break up into those three pieces, right?
Okay.
So that's how we sort of catalog and how we do our inventory of condition.
So this slide, this is provided for reference, but it's a little bit more detailed of the FCI by asset typology. So as you get into it, if you have any questions, you can certainly reach out to us. Next slide. So now that we've looked at the FCI results, we're just going to take a look at what drove those outcomes. So this chart illustrates our 2024 spending in relation to the identified backlog needs. So you can see obviously 2024, we've just kind of rolled up what was spent. You can see overall the portfolio, the overall portfolio for TSHC includes both. And then we've separated it out for TSHC. So you see about 35.4 million spent. And then the backlog at the end of 2025 starting point is 302 million. So in terms of the bolded text, you'll see those are the areas of top categories of need, building envelope, interior, mechanical, that you can see aligned to the backlog. So you can see that the prioritization is being directed to some of the needs.
Yeah, with this table, take a look at this table. The short of this kind of take is like, first of all, one of the things I forgot to mention is when we prioritize work, or we look at work to prioritize, we do it agnostically, right? We don't care about the operating model. We don't go like, here's for seniors, here's for central, we don't divide evenly, we don't divide pro rata by units. We go by needs, and we go by the prioritization criteria that Tara outlined before, right? So what is this table and some of the information telling you? The things you want to know. Seniors FCI is lower than the portfolio average. When we look at your backlog, our spending is commensurate by category. That's what this is saying, to what your needs are, right? You don't have needs that we're not spending money on. Our spend is proportionate to the category of needs. That means we're picking the right projects to do that. And not only that, but we're spending, when you do look at the percentage wise versus the units, the seniors units as a whole, the spend is actually pretty much commensurate pro rata as well, right? So we're investing, you're getting your share of money. We're putting it towards what we're seeing as backlog categorically, and your part of the portfolio is in better condition according to the FCI than the rest of the portfolio. Back to you, Tara.
Okay, next slide. So in terms of looking forward, we're approaching a significant kind of funding cliff. As you're aware, federal funding ends in 2027. And beginning in 2028, our annual state of good repair funding drops by nearly 49%. So the sharp decline in available funding is going to put direct pressure on our ability to maintain buildings and manage FCI. Given these constraints, obviously we're, proceeding to pursue obviously funding opportunities, but, have to note that we're prioritizing renewal work in the highest need areas. So focusing on tenant safety, essential systems, and preventing unit closures wherever possible. So without, less funding, we're going to have rising needs. The FCI is going to continue to worsen unless we, secure the new funding source. Next slide, please.
So like Linda, this is what you were pointing to in the article this morning, right? Like this double crisis, and this is what this slide is saying too, where we have funding, falling steeply, federal money, half of our capital, annual capital repair fund falling off a cliff starting in 2028. And then we have incoming needs because of that 50 to 60 year age of our buildings that are coming at us faster. And you can see in this red line here how steep that curve is starting to get. So those are incoming needs, if you will. So that's what we were talking about in this article about this double crisis. Less funding, more needs faster. And I'm just going to step off camera because I got to pick up one of my kids, but I'm still here. Okay.
No problem. So like Noah said, we're starting with a backlog of about 1.8 billion at the end of 2025. Between 2026 and 2035, we have 4.5 billion in capital investment needs just to maintain state of good repair. But we only have 1.5 billion in planned funding. So the backlog is going to continue to climb, rising to 4.8 billion by 2035 if we don't receive any further funding. So it's just kind of a graphic to kind of show you the widening gap. And then obviously with the needs just growing, it's going to get larger. Next slide, please. Got a couple more. This chart shows the unfunded FCI forecast by asset typology. So yellow indicating a fair condition, orange representing poor, and red reflecting critical. FCI growth obviously is a natural outcome of the accumulated repair needs. So the only way to manage it effectively is prioritizing investments and allocating additional funding wisely. So in this view, high rises, for example, have an FCI of about 10.3% at the start of 2025 and projected to increase to over 16% by 2028 without further investment. Poor and critical assets require focused renewal strategies that account for their size, unit count, and replacement value. Next slide, please. So overall, only 4% of our portfolio is considered the overall picture. Only 4% of the portfolio is in critical condition, considered in critical condition at the overall look. But without intervention, that's obviously going to dramatically change. And by 2030, we anticipate that more than a third of the overall portfolio is projected to fall into critical condition. And by 2035, over half of the units could be there. So this is the scale of deterioration we're facing. We're continuing to do our condition assessments annually, obviously trying to ensure we're meeting the assessment cycle on a 5-year basis, and doing detailed reviews and validating of the data, and obviously reviewing where the critical needs are. So we've noted previously with a meeting that we were going to work together moving forward to ensure we're have that dialogue back and forth. We are at the end of 2025 rolling up a lot of that data, so we're working on the next step of obviously getting the 2025 updates, and we'll certainly reach out once we have that data as well. We're looking to Q3 hopefully with the 2025 FCI update.
So just like that article said, right? Like we are looking, without funding, it is a bleak picture.
Yeah, thanks, Noah and Tara, and I really appreciate it. And this is the first time we've actually seen, just for some of the new folks. And I will ask Tom if there's any comments that he wants to make. I appreciate the transparency, and the other thing I appreciated is that the comments you made, Noah, about us actually being on the capital side, one organization as opposed to two, because it sounds like you're paying attention to us as well. We have room for a few little questions. Jess, here first. And I might ask Tom if he wants to make some comments too, because this is a lot to digest in terms of what you expect, what we can do with this, because it screams advocacy from my end. But Jess, you first.
Yeah, as a resident of TSHC, you scare me when we talk about having to close units. That's a direct threat to my ability to live in place.
Mhm.
And I appreciate the advocacy issue that you brought up, Linda.
Yep.
I'm going to go back to the $14 billion, of which $2 billion is assigned to TSHC. That seems for 83 buildings of a portfolio of over 1,000 buildings to be somewhat high. That's my first comment. Maybe I misinterpreted what you said, Tara.
Sorry, are you referring
Yeah,
to the
next year,
replacement value?
Replacement value, Tara. Replacement value,
replacement value.
CRV.
Okay, so we've actually, that amount has been updated in prior years. So in alignment with the city's corporate asset management plan, it's actually much higher. So we can share the link in terms of the overall for the portfolio. It's closer to 20 billion, over 20 billion.
Okay, but your instinct is right. Your instinct's dead on, though. This is the total portfolio, not the seniors portion of it, just to be clear. So just to be clear, that's not just the seniors portfolio. The 20 billion revised amount is the entire portfolio.
Okay. Yeah, because I heard 2 billion of that was the seniors portfolio for 83
Sorry.
buildings. A bit inexact.
You're correct. It's closer to, sorry, I did say it's closer to about the approximate estimate, closer over to 2.6 billion for the TSHC assets.
Okay. So onward to actually financing this. You've mentioned that most of these buildings, many of the buildings are 50 to 60 years old. Has the city reassessed the value of the properties? And is there any opportunity to refinance based on the value of the property in order to self-finance in a more proactive way? And this may be a Vince question as well.
Yeah, good question.
Yeah, and some of this might need to go to finance. I think we can't get into the real deep, like down too deep into all of this, but I'll let Tara and Noah make some comment.
So I can speak to through the last cycle of the budget process we went through with the city. We did actually, and each year we highlight the need that we have in terms of the backlog, like it's growing to 4.8 billion, and that's a need overall. So they're very aware in terms of the state of good repair backlog, how high it's rising, and there is a significant need. So, going through, obviously looking forward to the 2027 budget process, again, we will be highlighting more the need for funding because it's a significant need across the portfolio, and I understand obviously a huge platform of the mayor as well. So again, we'll push for further funding, and it's obviously the other discussions with other levels of government as well to highlight the need.
Tom, I'm wondering if because I think that, we're presenting this today. And I think that obviously the commitment from TCHC and TSHC is to make sure that our tenants are living in buildings that are in safe repair, and that there's proactive planning for buildings that are clearly going to, over time, have to be replaced. And having been on the TCHC board, I did experience buildings having to be closed. And I think that it's good to actually have this proactive communication and transparency around where we're at and some of the changes that are happening. But Tom, I'm going to throw it over to you because I think that we need to actually know what to do with this, because it's it can be pretty overwhelming in terms of, I'm sure for tenants seeing this as well.
Yeah, yes, through the chair to the committee. And Linda, you're right. The messaging is overwhelming and it is critical. And I think it is frightening for anyone who is looking at this within the housing system and what can be done. But just taking a couple steps back, very, very pleased that Noah and Tara are here today sharing this information. And
yeah.
Optimistic that we will get it on a routine basis and we can confirm that cadence with Noah and Tara for the board so that you hear it. I mean, this is what you were kind of asking for around your fiduciary responsibility as a board to understand this. And I think with the new relationship agreement, then it is clear how, and with Noah alluded to this earlier, how TSHC can bring their understanding, their knowledge to what's happening into the buildings to help around that prioritization, understanding that is driven by TSHC. They are accountable, but we certainly would like, from a Toronto Seniors perspective, input into that. So I think that's, the reporting to the board, the cadence, and then subsequently kind of our presence around input into the prioritization and contributing. I think around the advocacy, being at the table with the other CEOs from local housing corporations and other municipalities, anybody who received, just recall that number over that. For the 10 years from 2017 to 2027, it was 3.4 billion, I believe, for Toronto. CMHC, the city made a commitment. The CMHC funding drops off, right, as of 2027. So that, but other municipalities, organizations are also frightened. At the last CEO meeting of the Local Housing Corporation, Sean Baird was talking about the ministers that he has been meeting with. It is the same for the other organizations have come. This advocacy is critical. The city is well aware of it, and it will be a significant push to narrow that gap. It's critical.
Yeah, this has been a really important important report. Thank you, Tara and Noah. I think that this will be the beginning of seeing you again, and the thoroughness of your reporting and the different ways that you presented it was helpful. And Noah, you bringing it down to help us to understand it too. And I apologize that we were a little bit delayed in the item and that you're having to double duty childcare pickup and the board meeting. But this was very helpful. And we'll talk further as a team on how we present this in the future. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having us. And yes, we would love to come back on a regular basis. I think it's a good idea. So thank you.
Great. And we'll send the article to everyone. It was actually a good article. So maybe we can send that out to the board members. And I think that spoke to advocacy in terms of what was it, the biggest landlord in the city. So thank you.
Just a quickie, it was hard for me to read because of my vision. Is that report available to us?
It was sent.
Okay, I don't have it in my package. Sorry, maybe I missed it. It's not in my minute package. All right, I'll check it.
Oh, sorry, Vince, you're a good person to comment too, because I think that there's a lot of financial pieces. Go ahead.
Yeah, so no, sorry. Thank you to the chair there. It's in the report itself. I think it's number scrolling up. 16.
I have here item
16A.
Placeholder.
Yeah, 16.
So I guess it was subsequent.
Yeah, it was a big package. Thanks. And
it was the revised version.
Oh, okay. That's my mistake.
And Vince, since you're mute, is there anything that you want to say? Because this actually speaks to your portfolio.
Yeah, I think just through the board and through the chair there, I mean, this is a very, interesting conversation. Certainly, we will work closely with TCHC. Unfortunately, a lot of this section relates to the capital piece, and that is really the responsibility with TCHC. And so, we work very closely and try to get this more updated. And I guess this is the first time we've seen this information. And so it's been very helpful to see this information and give more perspective. This is probably the second time we've seen this information from Tara and Noah. So I think by them going through this conversation and providing more detail in this, I think really adds more value to the board as well.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So thank you very much for coming. And again, I apologize for the delay in having you present. It was great to meet you. And I guess we'll see you again.
And thank you so much. Take care.
Okay, thanks. Thanks, Noah. Thanks, Tara.
Thanks.
Thank you.
And I apologize. We've run a little bit late. Do you want to do a quick update on the last item, which deserves more time? And I appreciate everybody you still being here. Grant, over to you for the last item on the update report on community safety.
Thank you. And through the chair, so really quickly, as the committee is aware, we get quarterly reports from the CSU. The latest Q4 2025 report is attached in the package. I know a few summary details. Calls for service are around 2,400 in Q4, which is up slightly from Q3. Some of the details behind the increase in calls and what they're for are included in the report. The CSU talks in the report about some of the proactive work that they're doing as well. Things like community safety patrols, engagement activities, safety audits, and other things. Just for the committee's awareness, 3 audits were done in Q4, a total of 17 in 2025. These are the SEPTED audits. The safety audits are done with tenants and in each of the buildings. In terms of criminal and illegal activity, the report generally says that crimes against persons are down slightly, but crimes against property are up slightly or maybe significantly in some areas. And there's specific regions that are flagged with things that have been happening. There's an update on the violence reduction program, as they always include. There are 5 TSHC buildings that are in the VRP program, and some specific details around incidents in some communities are noted in the report. And then finally, the report highlights, and it was talked about a little bit earlier in today's meeting, way back at the start, that the TSHC Safety and Wellbeing Strategy was approved by the TSHC board on December the 11th. At this point, I'm just going to pass it over quickly to Tom, and I think I know we're close. We're really tight on time. So,
great. Yes, through the chair to the committee, I just had wanted to add just a few more comments from what Grant had provided. Right, that was the standard report that we had received from the CSU. So I think it's really just important just to kind of share with the committee that one very focused area of work that we have been doing with the CSU it is new work over the last probably 6 to 8 months, and I've spoken to it, but can give more specific details now. Not a lot, but just to help understand that we have met several times with the CSU now. They have provided specific data on our buildings relative to calls and degree of risk and need. Brenda, to your earlier point, that it's not fully accurate because people just don't report a lot of what's happening. So understanding that we have the data, then we sat with, and then each of the regional operation managers sat with their staff, sat with the CSA from the CSU, the community safety advisor. They reviewed the data ranking, but then also what is currently happening with the building. They have kind of reclassified the buildings based on risk, and then subsequently, do we need to make shifts? Do we need to make changes in the third-party coverage, directed patrols coverage, and those things? So that's in-time work right now that is happening with the CSU around response to risk in the community. So in spite of the operational review happening and the work in the safety and wellness plans, we are taking kind of this very targeted approach right now with CSU, which is good. So that's happened, and we just met with them last week. We need to keep moving that work forward. And then just a reminder, and I will speak to the Nadia over at TSHC about the CSU operational review to get, if I can, more details before she comes in May, particularly around the governance. So I will work to get that done, and then there also will come this work around the overall community and safety wellness plans, right? So it's just not about the CSU; it's also about the overall community safety, and we will start to do that work in some of our higher risk buildings. So quite a bit happening on that front.
That's great. Thank you. Jess?
Hi, yes. I'm going to refer to page 112 or page 3 of the report. In Q4 of 2024, there are 301 patrols, and in Q4 of 2025, there are 94 patrols. The number of buildings patrolled were 34 in Q4 of 2024 and 24 in Q4 of 2025. Engagement activity was 44 in Q4 of 24 and 34 in 25. I think you're catching my drift as to where I'm going with this. There seems to have been a total decrease in the number of patrols and engagement by the CSU. And I'm inquiring as to how is this reflected in what should be more positive response.
Yeah, through the chair to the committee, and just you're absolutely, like, that's accurate, and part of the, like, this work, this very specific work that we are doing with the CSU right now is to, first of all, have a regularly scheduled meetings now with the CSU, right, around to review the data, to validate what we're currently doing, to specifically look at this area of directed patrols, because it has not been constant. And so, I know in the times that we met, it can relate to kind of staffing shortages, is one of the things that they have said to us. That being said, these ebbs and flows, we have to try and kind of level those out and get the focus in certain, in the buildings where we need it the most. So yes, recognize that that is something that we need to work on, but we are right now kind of more actively addressing those with the CSU.
Yeah, the 60% reduction in service is not what we're paying for.
We have to work on absolutely, it's accurate observation.
Yeah, thanks, Jessa, and I noticed that as well.
Mm-hmm.
Brenda?
My only comment, thank you for the report and the work you folks are doing, and I appreciate your meeting with them, and I would actively suggest you get in and talk to Nadia earlier than sooner, because this whole review, I've been tracking this, is going to be very important. I would say we cannot police our way out of problems like we used to think we could. And my main concern here for safety for our tenants is in the area of antisocial behavior and possible taking advantage of seniors, particularly with illicit drug activity. I think it behooves us to have a broader policy other than just a reactive policy of dealing with CSU, their deficits, their pros and cons, etc. I think we need to ask ourselves separate, independent questions about what is the safe environment we want to create. And that means a really integrated purview and maybe an audit. So an audit of some sort, even if it's just a few buildings, to get a sense of what are the safety issues people experience. If a lot of them will not be reportable things because they don't think anyone's going to do anything. So that's why people don't report, right? But I want to get at this issue that people do not feel safe from their tenants from within and people who were brought in. And I think we need to seriously look at eviction proceedings. I think we need to make a stand that this behavior is unacceptable and will not be tolerated, and a government community subsidized rental accommodation where people have the right to be safe. Just because you're low income doesn't mean you should tolerate this. I wouldn't in my apartment building. And I know the police are limited in what they can do. So I would like to request, and I don't expect an answer today, that we seriously look at our own internalized review of what safety means for us, for our tenants. It might mean better training of staff in conflict resolution. It's extremely hard to deal with bullies. Humanly, no one knows how, no one's comfortable dealing with them, but we have to equip our staff with the ability to try and possibly deal with things, head them off at the pass. And then when people continue to violate social norms, I really think we need to be hard ass on this. And I know that, but I won't belabor the point. You've heard my viewpoints on these things, but I think it behooves us to do a TSHC specific plan about what we think safety is. And
Thank you, Brenda.
And on top of that, Jess, is the issue of wellness, which is another discussion.
So Tom, you get the last comment.
I will I'll just through the chair to the committee. I will just go back because when Nadia, I'll go back to information that we have shared with the board before. Because when Nadia came previously, she did share the outline of their community and wellness strategy, and part of that speaks directly to what you are saying, Brenda. So
good.
I will look at what you received, and there may be more, you know, to send you in the interim just to understand. And I have been keeping close, like with Nadia around their community and wellness safety strategy. They are looking at this template for their buildings. They are working on it, and Nadia said that they would be sharing that with us when they have that template in place, and that is much more than just the CSU. So I think it will be very helpful.
Yes.
And also just remind you that the SEPTET audits do there is some measurement there, the environmental ones around the safety, but we'll try and bring that all together.
All right.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And we will have a more detailed update, and it would be good to go back and look at the information that was provided before, because what we don't want to do is set up a separate parallel process. We don't have the resources to do that.
It won't happen anyway.
And so making sure that we're using the existing, there's a process now underway, and it's actually really important that it's successful. So anything that we can do. So thank you for the abbreviated report, but I'm glad that we did actually get through the whole agenda. I apologize again for agenda management today. I didn't do such a great job. I try to finish on time. So we will look at the future agendas, because the last thing I want to do is rush people. But I want to thank you for hanging in through the entire meeting and these important items. And we're going to look for, I'm just going to call for a motion to adjourn so that people can stand up.
Madam Chair. Excuse me, Madam Chair, before you ask for a motion to adjourn, we did amend the agenda with addressing the consent agenda item, which we have not.
Brenda wanted
to address that. Defer, if we could either defer or.
Can we defer that to the next meeting, Brenda?
For minutes.
What was it? I have no idea.
You had an item for the consent agenda item.
No, I think it's been covered.
Okay.
It was covered on this community safety issues and.
Okay, good.
I think that was covered, Karen.
That's all I needed was for the minute.
Thanks for keeping me on track, Karen. Any other items that people want to bring forward?
No, and just to be fair to yourself, and don't fault yourself. I mean, this was a huge agenda, and I think it speaks to the need to.
Yes.
We need more time to discuss these things. Otherwise, I don't feel I'm doing my job as a board member.
I agree. That's why I really didn't want to cut people off. So thank you. Thank you for hanging in.
Tech every week. Tech every week.
See, exactly.
No.
My point now, right, Jess?
No, I don't want to wear everyone out, but I just think it speaks to the need for another meeting.
Yeah, no,
and just for a point of information, I think it was 24 or 26 board kind of meetings, activities we had. So that last year, so that was one every other week. So just for information.
Yeah. No, I just don't want to shortchange like really important items. So no, it's good. It's good. Okay, so I can call for an adjournment now. A motion to adjourn. Jess, seconded by Jim. All in favor? Great, thank you. And I think it was a productive meeting, so thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. Take care.
Thanks, Jim.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys.
Bye, everyone.